All right. Okay, 1 second. I'm here. Live with here. And we are. Okay. All right. All right. Welcome, everyone, to episode 844 of the Black Brain Trust. This is the Sapio-Females Guide to the Galaxy. I'm joined by my co host here. Wait, hold on. I'm joined by my co host here. Miss Real Life is not in cyberspace.
Hey.
And when I mean by co-host is that we co-host this. It's not like my co-host, right? We're co-hosting. Um, the subject matter tonight: delusions of grandeur. Um, what the hell does that even mean? What are we going to be talking about here? Well, just that. Um, you want to go ahead and open up on this, Miss Real Life?
Sure. Yeah. So, we have a couple of skeletal notes here, but I like to just have those as just that a skeleton, and instead of just kind of like using it and just sticking to it, right? But we still like the quotes and things like that. Like we love that. So,
Yeah.
delusions of grandeur, right? So the first thing we want to concentrate on is the delusional part, right? So it's good to feel like you're grand, right? It's good to have feelings of being a grand person, right?
Mm,
It's when they're delusional that I think the conversation starts for our purposes, right? But
right.
so who's going to determine what delusional is, right? So someone can say that's subjective and they might be right, right? So I could say, well, that person says that they're great and I don't think they are. So does that mean they have delusions of grandeur? No. Okay. So I
Mm,
think YouTube is a really good place to start with this whole delusions of grandeur thing, right? We see a lot of it here. And it's really like a place where people are going through this and they're being sort of given, I guess, a more accurate feedback in actual life. They can be on YouTube and not get that same feedback, and to them it'll feel more legitimate. They're like, see, I always knew, right? So
mm,
you've got people who are very ineffective in real life, and I really want to use the word. I want to concentrate on efficacy, being effective, right?
yeah.
Whether it's an effective communicator, an effective exister, then you got to ask yourself, like, so if they're not able to be effective in their actual life, can they be taken seriously and be effective here, on YouTube? The answer
Mm,
is yes. Yes, they can. And so I think this is a really kind of good place to kind of start. So in real actual situations, when you see people going through delusions of grandeur, you don't typically want to like bring it up to be like, yo, you're bugging, right? Because
mm,
it's uncomfortable, it's weird. But somehow here it's like everybody will jump in and believe the hype or act like they believe the hype, ignore things that are really strange to ignore, um participate in the delusion, right? It becomes like a
mm.
collective delusion of grandeur. So let's start there. Do you think that I'm too negative about YouTube, or do you think that, like, yeah, this makes sense?
No, you know what I think? Um I think this is more of a social media phenomenon, right? We do things here in terms of like expression of ideas and uh, concepts and stuff like that. In the same space where there is a lot of things that kind of make you scratch your head, right? And that's primarily, I'm kind of speaking to like say like YouTube, right? But you'll see it in on other types of platforms, right? So like just say like Instagram and the whole influencer phenomenon, for example, right? A lot of people have made life decisions based on someone they're following on Instagram, right? An influencer, right? We're putting that in air quotes. And I think where the delusion of grandeur like kind of comes in this new like sort of hyper media uh paradigm that we're in is that you're fed a lot of images, you're fed a lot of filtered
Media.
images, you're fed a lot of various um, images, right, that don't really speak to the reality of things, and so people will kind of latch on to these influencers. They say they're followers, right? They even use these terms, right? Follower. And then they'll kind of get the notion or the idea that, well, I can do the same thing. And it's not real. It's not realistic, right? So I think what we are kind of dealing with is a social situation where there's a lot of programming that's been done, and a lot of people are just kind of, I don't know if it's they're living in a bubble, or if it's really they're kind of just programmed by these notions of what they see on Instagram and Facebook and on YouTube and stuff, right? Um, and it's not even like what they see. Also, like, what about what they listen to? All these podcasts and stuff. You know what I mean? So I think social media is really kind of like the culprit, so to speak.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, and that's my thought.
Yeah, I think definitely a lot of people, talking to a lot of people, knowing them from social media, it's really strange to see how like they really experience things. In terms of like, let's take the delusions of grandeur thing. Like they'll, a lot of times people will think that things are focused on them, right, when they're not, which is strange. And I think in terms of the delusion part, even if they are talking about them, right,
Hmm.
then where does it become this thing where it's so important? And I mean, like some people, so the first thought is that, oh, they're thinking they're great and they're not, or they're thinking that they're so powerful and they're not. But what about when someone's feelings are hurt by, let's say, a perceived rejection,
Hmm.
happening on YouTube or social media, right, social media in general,
Hmm.
and they take this campaign against the person? People have gotten doxxed simply because they didn't want to be friends with the person. And it's not just, oh, that's how some people look at it. And, they're just saying, well, they're not really seeing the real reason. No, those things have happened several times with several different people. Right. So even in one situation, if you say, oh, that was just their imagination or something. No. And so this is a delusion of grandeur too, because it's like, well, kind of. It's like someone else feels that you should be acting as if they're great, even though everyone knows they're not, right? Whatever great means. And because you decide you don't want to play along with that farce that everyone else has joined on,
Hmm.
then all of a sudden you're some identified person to attack, not just by that person, but by
Hmm.
their so-called influencees. Just even the term influencer should grab some concern from people, I think.
And so that's why I wanted to bring that up, right? Because you got to also you got to look at um, in this again, this new digital paradigm, right? You have way more access to people, right? Like, you can contact people like directly, like just go right to their DM, as they call it, and shoot them a message. They could reply back, and then from that point, you have some level of communication, or dare we even say influence,
Right.
right? So now, you know, this person can kind of take the position of, well, I've corresponded with this person online and done this and done that, and you know, and for whatever way they may feel jilted about a position or an exchange, and then they take it upon themselves to go above and beyond, let's just say, to expose them or something. It's just like,
Right.
whoa, right? And that's why I kind of relegated it back to the whole social media thing, because I really do think that that is actually that's what it is that has, I guess you could say, warped people's minds to give them these delusions of grandeur, right? That
Hmm.
they have more influence than they think. And I mean, what like, I mean, okay, influence meaning, yeah, under threat of doxing somebody. That's not
Right.
influence. That's immaturity.
Right.
Yeah.
Or who can so-called intimidate somebody more. And this intimidation thing is really pervasive, particularly like with people and their so-called followers. It's like gang stalking and all that. you
Mhm.
know um I want to be cool with this person, so of course I'm talking from their point of view, so I'm going to attack this person because I know that they don't like that person. Things like that.
Mhm.
Excuse me chewing.
No, you're good.
So, you know, and then those same people will then act as if nothing happened. High rating women, as if nothing happened, and they'll just jump around, which tells me that they think nothing of themselves. They don't feel like they can. It's like the opposite of a delusion of grandeur, right? They have no effect whatsoever. That they think that their presence in someone else's, let's say, chat while the person is said person is doxing another person. Oh, it's no big deal. I was just there. I was saying hi. I like that person. As if this other stuff doesn't really matter. It's like you like the person. That's your reason for being there. Really?
Well, I was gonna say, and because of what this communication medium is, right? Um, it's that kind of adds to the delusional aspect of it, right? Because now there's these things called avatars that people kind of engender,
Mm-hmm.
as a digital persona,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so much so to the point that people will, let's just say offline, will refer to them as this digital persona because
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of how they connected or how they know them, right? Um, Again, it's a it's a time that we're in now where, like, if I were to go back to say like the '90s and stuff like that, and for me anyway, it's uh I'm looking at it as like I remember when none of this existed, right? See, so everybody's interactions largely for the most part were pure and true, whether they
Mm-hmm.
were good or bad, right?
Right, 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 right.
Yeah, there was kind of like there was no sort of digital wall to hide behind,
Mm-hmm.
and there also wasn't a digital medium to be influenced by,
Mm-hmm.
right? To be kind of swayed by, to now it's like, think about it, right? Like, so some, like, in the real world, somebody may not have much of a friend circle, if any at all, right? But
Mm-hmm.
they come online, and then there's a community for them. And sometimes, I think people get more sucked into, um bless you.
Thank you.
They get sucked into the side of things that give them more of the attention, or more of the confirmation or the validation that they need, right? And
Mm-hmm.
that's in a digital environment. It's not in a real one. And that's really what lends to these notions or ideas of delusions of grandeur that we see oftentimes, especially expressed to like a YouTube, social media, and all that. I know I could give you a real world example
Mm-hmm.
of having a delusion of, like, I'm talking about a real one, like, me personally.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and to me, it's more of a realistic notion of it. Just coming up with a business idea or something, and in my head, I'm like, okay, well, this is, I think this can be done, right? You think it's a really good idea, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, well, the real world and the market will tell you otherwise, right?
Mm-hmm.
If it's not. And so that's how those delusions of grandeur can kind of get water poured on it real quickly when it's faced in the real world, right? You're these big ideas, right? Well, let's see how big they really are. Let's see how the people respond to it.
Right, but then that also can be a subjective thing too, and also time frame thing because
Definitely that.
mm-hmm, what might not fly, like the '90s right now is could be popping. Somebody could
Hmm.
have laughed at it. It reminds me I was watching Good Burger too. Don't laugh.
What the
And
hell?
and he's like, I have a great idea. And apparently he was known for, I don't remember him being known for this in Good Burger One, but whatever.
It was
He
the
was
sauce.
to have these harebrained ideas. No, that's the other guy. Um, because the guy with the sauce, like his ideas landed, but this guy is the other one. So he was, I have another great idea. He's like permanent ice, and
Permanent ice.
is that like big cup?
Yeah, yo.
you know.
Yeah,
So
permanent
anyway,
ice. I love it.
right. And so, when let's say if I heard this in the '90s, the first thing I'm thinking is, oh, it sounds so poisonous and radioactive, like nobody's gonna mess with it.
I know,
But
right?
nowadays, considering what people are putting to their systems, even more so, even though there's supposedly more of a health kick, no, So I'm like, yeah, I could see people being down with permanent ice, even if it is made out of argon, you know. So what, you know? But yeah, so I'm just saying that could be a subjectivity thing, you know. And something also could be a good idea, but maybe isn't practical. So it's not like the idea sucks. It's just that there's something has to be framed with the practicality of it, you know. So the inherent idea might be all right.
Yeah, okay, and see, and that's kind of where, that's I guess maybe that's what I'm saying. I was kind of bringing up maybe like a more close to home idea, right? I've had some ideas for businesses actually tried to do the shit. Good idea. Even people told me it was a good idea. Just wasn't quite the time.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So, um, that's a very real that's a very real experience that I've had with it, where I
Mm-hmm.
had to kind of like admit to myself, like, it's like when you really kind of step back and you think about it, dude, not everything is going to be a success. Some shit fails,
Right. And that's
you know.
okay too.
Yeah, and so you kind of take a step back and you look and you go, what was I thinking?"
Well,
You
that's
know?
not solutions of grandeur either, because then at that point the person is able to accept realism, and so there's no delusion there. It's okay. Oh, I had an
That's
idea,
true.
thought it was good, and it
Mhm.
wasn't, and whatever, you know. But on something like where the person's like, "Oh, the world is not ready, and they're so stupid, and there's a world full of fools. They just don't know." And instead of being malleable to the situation and saying, "Hey, maybe take the same bones of the idea but alter it," they'll just think
Yep,
everyone else is wrong, never bend, never learn. You know, no self introspection, no
yep.
self awareness, none of it. You know.
That's what I had to learn. That right there, I think after so I had one business, and they always kind of say like family and business don't mix. That was one of
Mm-hmm.
those examples where that was true, right? So successful business, but because of that right there, out of here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then spun up the next business, and I kind of did it with not in the right frame of mind,
Mm-hmm.
right? But kind of going what I knew and what I needed to do, or what I thought I needed to do, right? And it
Mm-hmm.
just kind of was not there. And then I went on like a string of failures. I
Mm-hmm.
went
Mm-hmm.
on a string of failures until I got my label back, got it up and going with my partner Kevin.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so it took a few humblings,
Mm-hmm.
right, to get to a point where I had to learn how to, like you say, be malleable, um, and learn on the fly, like learn to adapt, learn how to adjust, right? Always be open to new information. You know what I mean? And it really did kind of quell like the big idea type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, one thing that my current business partner always kind of talks about is like we'll sort of like approach an idea from a zero-based budget. Like, how much of this can we do literally putting no money at it, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so
Mm-hmm.
we can really get a true baseline of what it would cost for us to do something. And it's kind of like it's knowledge and experience, and going through the motions and the failures and shit. It gets you to understand, like, not you can have big thoughts, but you have to be realistic.
Right.
You got to be realistic about things. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And that transfers over into even the stuff that we were just talking about a few minutes ago, like
Mm-hmm.
outside of the business stuff. I'm just giving a personal anecdote for those listening in, right?
Mm-hmm.
But just transfer it back. It's just like some of the things that people will say, or ideas that they'll express in social media and stuff like that. It's like, do you do this in the real world also? Like, do you get out here in the real world and do this? Some people do. Their faces
And
out here, and they just, you
that's
know.
where that whole feedback thing change comes in. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
No,
Yeah.
no. Go ahead.
Yeah, a shift in feedback. Because there's no way that, again, we have to give credit to the collective intelligence, because they'll still see through, and even if they see through it on YouTube, right? I'm gonna bring it back to YouTube then, because I was thinking a lot about this with this topic. how just I think the first strange part is the lack of self-awareness, and then you kind of just keep looking at it and then realize that these are delusions of grandeur, right? So it's not always the person who's bragging, right? It's the person who's able to feel like they are effective in some way here, even though they know that it's not real, right? There's the delusion, like it's entrenched in the delusion, and like so I'm less caught up on the grandeur part and more caught up on the
The
delusion
delusion.
part. Yes.
Check it out. I have a feeling that what I'm gonna say might lead us back over into like the last conversation that we had on the last live stream about like sort of like the digital sort of transhumanistic element of all of this. Because for some strange reason, this all seems to kind of circle back to these devices and these platforms and the podcasts and the comment sections and the you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I can't recall it being like this prior to all of this. You know what I'm saying? The notion of the idea of quote unquote clout chasing, like what the hell? It's like, is this an attention grab? Like, what is going on here?
Yeah. And then you've got people labeling people these weird labels and giving them these weird credits and all kind of, yeah, I was looking at her comment. I wanted to speak to that for a second too.
Yeah,
I also asked her if she wanted to come up. You don't mind, right?
It's your live stream.
Yeah. So, oh, thank you. Okay. I didn't mean
I don't mind at all. It's just writing woman. It's up to you though.
Yeah,
sure. I'll drop the link for her. There you go.
Thank you. So, and you know, with that, so it's one thing for someone to call someone something, like let's say a label, some grandiose label, and those people are willing to just kind of, you know, hold up the hype, don't really believe it. It's another thing for that other person to run with it, knowing what the whole thing that's happening there, like there's an agreement that's going on there that both parties are not talking about. Like 9 times out of 10, the reason why these people are on all these panels all the time for such a long time regularly like that, like I get that it's fun sometimes, especially, you know, circa 2018 or whatever, you know, being on panels and having panels, like that was really fun, where it was just kind of like anything goes. I don't mean the ring aspect of it, I just mean the conversational literal aspect of it was good. But
well, I can definitely agree to that during like the whole pandemic era, the P-Funk era, you know, where you literally couldn't go anywhere, right? So what the hell?
Even before that, like when it came to like when COVID, or are we not allowed to say COVID?
No, you say whatever the hell you want to say.
Oh yeah, when that all dropped, that's when it became like extra obnoxious to me, because I had already been there for a couple years, so it was like I just saw everything that I didn't like turning up, and the populations got bigger with the behaviors. And except one thing that was cool was that a lot of things got played out. So this idea of like people acting like they're walking on water, like that shit got played out, at least in some areas. And then also this idea of, oh my gosh, no, I just did this because of this victimhood thing that people like to do on here, that got played out. And people started to, so the trend thing, the trend of how kind of the backlash became, no, you don't get to do this, we're seeing through this, only because people got tired of it, you know, and the group think is such that it's old now, right? So that worked for that. But with you know, it disturbs me, especially like, you know, and again, you know, I don't know if the audience is aware, I know you are, but let me just reiterate, I'm really not too well versed on the manosphere and all this stuff. I know what you and I have spoken about here. I know what I've spoken to all of you guys in the Black Brain Trust about in terms of like when we did the interview on my channel. I was, you know, put up to a lot of information at that point. From my perspective, though, it seems like a lot of this, here's a leader because we need leadership, and here I am going to pose as a leader because I know you all need leadership, although we both understand it's a farce. A, they're lonely. B, they like spending time with each other for several reasons, a lot of that being because they like being around a lot of guys. And I'm not coming from the school of, oh my gosh, all the manosphere guys are GAY. Although I would say It depends
There's
on.
been some situations that could suggest some things, but that's neither here nor there.
It is here and there. It's
Okay,
here
go
and here. Yeah, it's definitely here. Because this is the hiding part where a lot of it's like, no, I came to learn some stuff, and this guy is telling me stuff that dad didn't tell me. It's like, that's unfortunate. I'm pretty sure if all of us went back in time, we'd like for our dads, our parents in general, to say some more stuff, even if they were awesome, right? It's just the nature of the thing, right? But we can't pretend as if these collective groups are not made up of um daddies and sons looking for daddies, right? And it works
Mhm.
out very well. So the delusion of grandeur gets to hold up from both perspectives, right? Now, I think another question begs itself. Why are people so okay with people speaking out of two sides of their faces? What am I talking about? I'm talking
Ugh,
about when
yeah.
someone who, hmm,
No, I'm agreeing with you.
hmm when someone who is not married and they're like in their late 30s, but they're telling other people why they're not married, and they're speaking to a group ostensibly younger than them, because that would be the pool that we would assume that they're talking to. I don't get how that those things can fly. It doesn't mean that, okay, teach, if those who can't do teach, and I get all that. There is some
Mhm,
truth to that. But
mhm,
it would be nice, the ultimate teacher, it would be nice if you also do. It would be nice if you started out doing and then taught under A, what you are doing, and B, how this works into axioms, frameworks, tenets, right? Then you
mhm.
can start making some sense. Or then you can start calling yourself a flock herder or whatever the fuck you got going on with it.
Well, let me ask you this though, but this isn't that what doesn't this whole again this whole sort of digital social media influencer paradigm where all you have to do is it just has to be presented correctly. You get what I'm saying? It's like that it's like the way um a lot of people have been terraformed. Their brains have been kind of been terraformed to think in this meme based uh, modality, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everything's memes and community tab posts and shorts, even right. Very
Mm-hmm.
very 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 short attention span based content. Um, you know using acronyms like literally like ascribing whole digital based philosophies to themselves: red pill, blue pill, SYSBM, Ibmore, I'm trying to name MGTOW,
Mm-hmm.
let me see what some of the other ones, divester, uh yeah, think about all of these things. These were born in a digital space, and then people engender it, and then they go out into the real world and then they live it. That
Mm-hmm.
is like very strange to me. Like to
Yeah,
kind
it
of
should be.
take
Yeah.
your you take your inputs from a digital device. You're
Mm-hmm.
almost like a droid or a robot. It's
Mm-hmm.
almost as if it's like
Exactly.
somebody's doing like an over the air fucking update, right?
It's exactly what's going on.
Yeah,
It's the
you get
higher level programming.
dude.
Exactly.
See, this is kind of that's where it's sort of like I mean it's something to consider in my view. It's just something to consider,
So
in terms of like when people just think about who you listen to and why you listen to them. Why do you follow them, and what are the reasons why? Like, and be very realistic about those questions when you ask yourself these things.
So, as a man who has been around those manosphere circles, and in some way, I guess, are the manosphere circle in a lot of ways,
Hmm.
then do you feel like that's been something? Like, I want to go back to the daddy son thing. Do you feel like
Hmm.
that's something that is easy to say from the outside looking in, particularly as a woman, or do you think that there is some sort of kind of constant like that going on there?
I think there's a constant because I think you can see it on the female side. Now, I I'm never I literally I'm assuming here that social circles and social groups like they coalesce much in the same manner, right? Women will. they'll gather around women centric issues, right? Men will gather around men centric issues, and then there's going to be like these middle ground issues where there's going to be a commingling of people, right? But I would imagine that on like the female side of things, it functions much the same way. You know, there's like elder guidance that's being sought by younger women or something, right? And then
Mhm.
when you look on the male side of things, um, it's depending on the spheres and spaces, right? Like I said, I can't really speak to the female side. I don't know, but at least on the male side, I can tell you that there's different spheres, right, and spaces where um, groups of men will congregate, and it's going to be essentially based on common ideals, you know, or just objectives or whatever, right? That's usually why it is that men will kind of correlate, or I'm sorry, they'll kind of congregate in the circles that they do. It's usually based on common interests, right? So
Mhm.
if what you see is say like somebody or like a circle or a sphere of men, and what it is that they got going on is something that does not really reflect real world activities, that tells you a lot about the people, not only the person doing the content, but the people following them. And
Right.
what's alarming to me is that there's a lot of people who really do walk around with these thoughts and these ideas in their heads on a daily basis. You probably go to Starbucks and order coffee from them if you go to Starbucks. I mean, I make my own coffee, but you know,
Right.
you know.
I don't hear an echo, Emmanuel.
Yeah, I think I might be. Hold on one second. Let me mute. Let me see.
Maybe it's me. I don't know why it would be. I thought I heard everything straight.
Let me see. Hold on one second. Okay, let's see. There's no echo now.
I was muted. Let's see if there's an echo now.
Is there an echo now? Nope. No, I don't hear one.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe that. I'm not sure. Oh, I'm not sure what happened there, but okay. Yeah, I don't hear an echo now.
Yeah, I know that there was some situation with StreamYard regarding not using earphones, but since I am using earphones, I'm using a microphone and earphones.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just
So
using. Yeah, I'm using my thing here. It's. Yeah, I don't hear an echo. Okay. Yeah,
yeah.
man, says you were good. Okay.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So the what was it, okay, right, yeah, well, on the women's side, right, just to kind of clarify some things there, yeah, it's definitely the same situation. So you've got like, I don't really watch these channels like that, the channels that people are so able to mention, oh, so and so, as if everyone knows who they are. I may
Mhm.
hear the names and know the names, but not really be, up on what they're talking about. But I have general ideas. So when I'm bringing people's names up, well, I'm not bringing any names up, but when I'm bringing people up, some people may know who I'm talking about. But again, I'm not going to act like I know everything they're talking about or that I watch them in any way, shape, or form, whether regularly or seldom, right? So there's that.
Mhm.
But I know that there is a woman who seems to have kind of like these savior type women, just like the men. So I think there was one who just got her channel knocked recently. I would definitely say she's in that category, and
Yeah.
she has really big bangs. And then there's another one who, from my understanding, was on some, I don't know what she was talking about before. I think it
Is that
was
bangs with a Y?
was that
Is that bangs with a Y?
bangs with it? Yeah, bangs. Yeah. It definitely is bangs with it. Right?
I was like,
Girl,
dude, come on. I know you got this one. I know you got this one.
and an exclamation mark and an ellipsis and a cartwheel. Yes. So then, this one other woman though. So as soon as this other woman, the bangs get knocked off, this other woman becomes very I guess louder with her message, which was not anything like her other message. So according to what I was told, her original message was like pro-black, but not in terms of talking about gender, really, just in terms of black matters. Now, I don't know how deep she got into any of it, right? No problem
Mhm.
there. So then now, she was married, and now she's an out the closet lesbian, but now she's here discussing to women how she's going to turn them into queens and all this. But then she's on lives high as a kite allegedly trying to seduce her audience. So that and that's what I'm saying, right? Like that's why people are doing a lot of the things they're doing. They really just want this tete-a-tete seduction situation going on, this relationship going on, a whole lot of this stuff going on. Okay. And they're full of shit. And please don't get me started on the mimicry, because I would like to get into that. But I see our friend Rainy Woman has joined the panel. Hey.
Hey,
Hey.
Hey, come back to side. And real life is not in cyberspace.
hello.
What a wow. That was something else there. I was not aware of the lady situation that real life just spoke on. And so it was like, oh wow, okay. But I wanted to add this if I might. By the way, you guys, another great topic. I'm so glad I was able to catch this one live.
Thank
Um,
you.
Yeah,
It's good to have you here.
is that I think because people grow up and have grown up seeing people idolized, right? And how it bolsters their popularity when they're idolized, that when social media happened, it made people able to see on a larger scale, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then feeling how they can connect. We have these what we call parasocial relationships, right? Where people really feel like they know somebody just because of their content, right?
Mm-hmm.
And even if they could be vibing with a content creator that doesn't even go live, but just from what the content creator creates for them, that possibly fills a void, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then they somehow develop this own need of their own to get the same idolization from others that they've seen growing up with celebrities.
Mm-hmm.
Take for instance, like which by the way, I think it speaks to people who idolize such people, even celebrities.
Mm-hmm.
To me, when you idolize something like that, it says something about you as a person that may warrant some looking into why you pedestalize people
Mm-hmm.
that you don't even know
Mm-hmm.
at all.
well,
It's
this
not that you idolize them. It's not that you celebrate their work, just like
Mm-hmm.
which I do believe in paying honor to whom honor is due. I do believe in paying homage, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there sometimes can be an unrecognizable fine line of paying homage and honoring someone for their work and their contributions and idolatry.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah. I was gonna say to that, Miss Running Woman. There's nothing wrong with being inspired by someone, right? Remember, we all wanted to be like Mike. You know what I'm saying? Because
Right.
Mike he's the goat. You know what I'm saying? So there's nothing wrong with being inspired by greatness. Um, but then there's also the cult of personality, right?
Exactly.
Which is a separate thing, right? And I think what's happening, especially like I said today, because I think that a lot of what is leading to these delusions of grandeur has a lot to do with this new social or this digital environment that we're in. I mean, like, just think about this stuff. It's like, skid or not, you'll see some of these viral clips that get out here, and it's just people doing the absolute most. And on the one hand, I'm thinking, okay, okay, all right. It's like I have two thoughts at the same time, right? One thought is that can't be real, right? And if it's not real, like, why would you do such a thing? Because it's still your face and we can see it and it went viral. So you're now known as that guy. Even if you go out and people look at you, you go, hey, it wasn't real. It's like you're still that guy. And then let's say if it was real, what the hell is wrong with you? Get what I'm saying? It's like it's almost as if it's like the justification that people give it is that, well, it's just social media. And it's just like, okay, but there's like this biofeedback that's happening here, and then people follow you as a result, and then you do more of it because you get more followers, and then it becomes this sort of hydra. It just sort of becomes its own monster. And so now we're literally having a conversation this evening about delusions of grandeur because we see so much of it.
Indeed, I agree. And to your point, there's definitely a difference, between being inspired though and desiring that worship. I don't think anyone should desire to be worshiped. Take, for instance, the Beehive, right?
The
There's,
Beyonce.
yes,
Okay.
yes. So there's, oh yeah, Beehive. So there's being a fan, right? And then there's worshiping again someone, idolizing someone.
Hmm.
When you don't recognize that you have fallen over the fence to idolatry, that in and of itself becomes a problem because people do weird and crazy things to defend someone like Beyonce who knows nothing at all about them. Just because someone else critiques her or dare say they disagree with something that she has done or said or their perception of her, just like the fans have their perception. There's that fine line. What Real spoke to about online with the influencers of social media,
Hmm.
the gang stalking, right? That's no different. What like the Beehive does, that's no different
You
than
know,
what others do for influencers about social media.
it's interesting. They use beehive, right? So the beehive, there's a queen, and then there's all the workers, and that's essentially what they do. Is they do things to protect the queen and all that, right? Now, each one of those workers doesn't necessarily have any sort of intimate access to the queen. They just do what they need to do to protect her. So it's interesting that you're kind of like given that sort of same correlation, and they
Mhm.
call it the beehive.
Right.
It's just, I was just like, oh god, I don't know if that can. I don't know if no, it's not made up. That's not made up.
I think
That was
some of them are bots, but I think some of them are real people. And what about the people who when that crowd who's giving the delusions of grandeur some credit, right? Or what if it's just regular people, right? So speaking to that idolatry. So regular people are just going around, just doing uploads on YouTube, doing lives, just, chilling. And somebody, because they can't wait to either feel this for someone or they just naturally do, right? It's like they either do or don't, right? They love them or they hate them. And so, you know uh let's say I'm thinking of an actual situation. Fuck it, I'll just use the actual situation. So there was a situation. I was trying to think of like some way to just pose it, but let's just get right into it. So, someone had a birthday and they came on my into my chat, and when I see the people, I say what's up if I can. The chat's usually not that crowded where I'm gonna lose track, but sometimes you don't see comments or whatever. So I wish the person a happy birthday, and apparently I didn't say hi to this person again when they came into my chat subsequent to this birthday wish. According to this person, it was like the next day or something like that. How do I know this? Because I heard the person say this while someone else was trying to harass me. This person goes into their channel and says that literally everything I just said, they tell that story as if that's a legitimate reason to be upset with someone, even if I did purposefully ignore him, which I didn't. So, and then this person decided to go on like a whole campaign until he found out that wasn't a good idea and then calmed his ass down. But think about how crazy that is, how rejected somebody to feel that rejected and it's because of exactly what you're talking about, Rainy Woman. We're all talking about, because they're idolizing people, and then that wrath that comes along with being let down or something
Hmm.
like that for something that's so nothing becomes now your problem because you're just chilling on YouTube, silly things like this, and people think that behavior is normal, like, oh, they're not to be fucked with, and they're this and they, like, as if that's something again normal,
Well, let me ask you this, right? Because um, is there like two different types of normals? Because, like I said, these are the same people that I would assume that in the real world, I would imagine they have day jobs and all this kind of stuff. I know they don't function like this in the real world. So is it like
Or do they?
what I mean, it's hard to imagine that they do, given if you well, you know what? Let me actually not put my foot in my mouth just yet. Because in the real world, a lot of people are doing a lot of weird stuff.
and they're
And that would
not holding jobs, they're not living regular life. This
yeah, well, you
fool
know what? That's
sits there
true.
all
Like
day in facilitated living, getting an SSI check because he cannot function in normal society. So, but they're here, and then you've got these guys like the bone collector, when all he could do was move a finger, but they're going to use it to move their mouse to tape people all day. You know what I mean? To like tape their lives. Talking about they're the
okay.
archivists. They're all this, and
Hmm.
Well, and that's where okay, so that once again, that's kind of where now I have to kind of think about this whole impact of social media, right? So, say people that may be socially limited, let's just say, right? I mean, I'm just going to use that as a term, okay? I think we can all kind of surmise what I might be kind of
yeah, no,
saying with
it
that.
fits
But yeah, socially limited, right?
perfectly. Yeah, that's a good
Yeah,
one.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But see, like via a computer and an internet connection, man, you could be anybody. You know what I'm saying? Like you could be anybody.
Apparently,
Yeah, I mean, it's like, dude, so many people like have created, mass followings. Like I said, and behind an avatar,
yeah.
you don't know who they are, you don't know anything about them, but there's just others that are in this cyberspace, so to speak, looking for something, and oftentimes they find it in a person that just is living out a life that they cannot live in the real world. As crazy as that all sounds.
It reminds me of this person who he calls himself a label, which is really funny. And there's some picture that leaked of him, and he just looked like a normal guy on a bridge, right, on a suspension bridge. And so, but everyone was making fun of him so badly. I mean, yeah, he was a little pudgy, and I guess they expected him to be, more physically fit. Fair.
Uh huh.
But besides that, I mean, I just saw a normal guy. Like, because he wasn't floating above some water, then he was to be clowned because of the picture. Now, I don't think the guy is worth not clowning. Did I say that correctly? But it was
Uh huh.
just so weird how they were like, "Oh, look at him!" And I literally asked a few people. I was like, "Okay, I'm not sticking up for him, but I just need to know what exactly is wrong with the picture. What's happening here?" And I couldn't get any solid answers. And people were like, "Just look at him." I'm
Well,
like,
you know what that's about. Seriously, you want to know what that's about? What that's about? Again, there's a It's funny. I just did a live stream about this a couple weeks ago. Mystique. When you're faceless, so to speak, right?
mm-hmm.
If you're faceless, then there's a mystique to you. Um. Okay, let's do it like this, right? Perfect example. Um. A Mexican wrestler. They wear the mask.
Yep.
Yeah, well, dude, once you take the damn mask off, it's like, well, he's not my hero no more. He looks like regular, what?
He's John right down the street.
Yeah, he's just,
Right.
like, yeah, my neighbor Jose or something. Um,
Right.
you know what I'm saying? So it's sort of like the mystique is gone,
Mm-hmm.
right? You know what I mean? So like when you asked, you're a rational person. It's like, okay, well, a big deal. Everybody else is just like, "Oh, well, and it's just like, I don't know. So look, look when the word got around that everybody was thinking I was a white guy, I did this right here. I put my picture of my fucking face up because it's just like, dude, look, I'm a regular ass person. I'm not gonna run from who the fuck I am and what I look like. That's me right there.
They're like, that's not you.
I'm like Jesus Christ.
You stole your black friend's picture.
Yeah, yeah, that's your black buddy.
Meanwhile, they got a picture from high school up there talking shit.
I mean, it's just I don't know.
So
I
we were
I
about
just
to. I'm
I'm
sorry.
sorry.
Go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
No, no,
No, no,
no.
go
You
ahead.
got. No, 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 no.
I didn't have anything of any significance to say. It was probably just gonna be another
Okay.
joke. But go ahead.
As I say, we were kind of teetering on it. We might as well just jump into it. So mimicry, right?
Mhm.
Uh, so this is a big part of when you can see that delusions of grandeur are in fact occurring, because I like to highlight the fact that something can be something conceptually, right? But until you can see it in practice, this is different. I love to separate those two things, right?
Yes.
For myself, right? And so in this whole thing, right, with delusions of grandeur, highlighting the delusion part, right? So okay, I'm gonna bring another example in to color my point. I saw someone's live a couple days ago. Now I've seen this person copy several people. Like I literally can see who she's copying when she's copying them. And when I say several people, the list is really long at this point, just without thinking too hard. As a matter of fact, insofar as I understand it, there's documented legality around the mimicry that's gone on with said person on YouTube more than once. Okay. And this person did a live talking about how people copy and why they do it, and that it used to bother them, but now they feel like it's flattering. Now there's several different directions I'd like to go with this, guys. So first thing is, I know personally that when mimicry occurs in some way, it bothers some people more than others. And I know that the people that it doesn't bother as much, it probably used to bother them and they've kind of understood it, kind of like what I was saying, that person was trying to, perpetrate the fraud as if they were actually thinking, right? I don't really dislike this person or anything. I mean, but we have to look at what we're looking at and be honest about it. We really, really do have to do that. So, I'm like, does she really think that she's not mimicking people? Or does she think that no one notices she's mimicking people, which is maybe even more disturbing, because it's like, even if you think that, why rub that in people's face? It just seems like the concentration is in all the wrong places. But this mimicry thing comes up a lot. And I noticed that it happens in a lot of situations where people are showing anger towards someone or their behavior, and then just to go around 24 hours later and mimic the exact same behavior. So is it that? So, okay, two things. Let's start here.
Mhm.
Complex. I know that people copying bothers the fuck out of you. I know that,
I
right?
hate it. Yeah.
And right, I know it really gets your goat. So let's start here. We know that, and then I want to ask you, Rating Woman, how you feel about mimicry, people mimicking you, or just seeing shameless mimicry. And then after we find out if it's a yes or no from Rating Woman, then the second question to both of you is, what about that bothers you to Complex? And then depending on your answer, Rating Woman, then I'm going to ask you, what about it doesn't bother you? Why doesn't it bother you, or why does it bother you?
Okay. All right. So I'll say this, and then I'm gonna go run to the restroom,
Okay.
and then I'll let you guys go ahead and rock here. All right. It bothers me. Um. All right. Let me make sure I get my words right, because like when I was doing the music thing, I had the people. There was like my list of producers that I didn't want to sound like them. It's just that they had something about their sounds that I wanted. Do you
Mm-hmm.
get what I mean? I didn't want
Mm-hmm.
to I didn't want to emulate or copy what they were doing. There were just things that they did in their music that I liked.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to be able to do it. You know what I mean? So it became a thing where I dissected what they did and then extrapolated. And so when, it was like when we started doing the music and stuff like that, and it didn't sound like their stuff. But I know that the stuff that we were doing in our stuff comes from them. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So
Yeah.
there's I mentioned earlier about
Being inspired or
it being inspired.
mhm.
Exactly, exactly, right. So if you're being inspired, that's one thing. I don't care, right? I don't care. Matter of fact, if somebody told me, and I've had cats tell me like, "Yo, man, like things that you do, like really like kind of have basically kind of changed how they think in
Mhm.
so many ways, right?" And that that's pretty heavy, man. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like think
Mhm.
about it, right? Like, somebody telling you you're responsible for like a change in perception or how they see things or how they think,
Mhm.
right? Hopefully that's a good thing.
Mhm.
Hopefully. So I want to think that, the efforts that I put, into this channel, with the other brothers here and you guys and stuff, and it's for like a positive effect. So in that regard, it doesn't bother me,
Mhm.
right? However, on the flip side of that, what I don't like is when people do not like the fact that you can craft an original idea or a concept and then make it something,
Mhm.
right? And then for whatever reason, they don't like you for that. Okay, so what they'll do is they'll shit talk you, and but then steal it at the same time,
Mhm.
right? And so that in that scenario, I can't stand that shit.
Mhm. Mhm. Why
Like
not?
I can't, just because it's dishonest, right? Like
Gotcha.
the other scenario I was speaking to, that's honest. I was being
Gotcha.
honest about even how I went about making music in such a way where I wanted to make sure it didn't sound like I was copying somebody.
Mhm. Mhm.
You know what I mean? That forced me to like kind of reverse engineer as much as I could what they were doing in order to get the effect that I wanted. I didn't
Mhm.
want to do exactly what they did though. You follow what I'm saying?
Absolutely 100%. Yes.
Yeah, yeah, okay, yeah. All right, Miss Randy Woman, you can go ahead and respond. I'm gonna just step away. Give me like 3 minutes. I'll be right back.
Take your time.
Okay.
Yeah.
For me, mimicry and as such doesn't really bother me. Um, and I think that is because I look at it like this. When one burger stand set up in a neighborhood, right? And that burger
Mhm.
stand becomes popular. And then someone else says, "Hey, I make a pretty awesome burger, you know, and people like my burgers. Every time people come around, I make a burger. Or when we have an event, I'm in charge of the beef and the burgers and everything. I make a pretty mean burger. I too want to
Mhm.
do a burger stand."
Mhm.
If they were to have the idea of, well, somebody already had a burger stand, so I shouldn't do a burger stand. Maybe I should do fries. Well, they don't
Mhm.
make good fries. Fries is not their specialty. They make a good burger. Now they may make some okay fries, but they
Mhm.
know for sure that they can do a good burger, right?
Mhm.
Should they not set up their burger stand because someone else set up a burger stand? If that's the case, we would not have Burger King and McDonald's.
Mhm.
If we didn't have Burger King, and McDonald's, we also wouldn't have the mom and pop burger stands,
Mhm.
a variety.
Mhm. It's a
People
good point.
can be inspired by you or get an idea from you, but they can't perform your idea your way.
Mhm.
To think that you own the idea itself or the concept itself without, shall we say, what is the word I'm looking for here? Daggone it. What is the word I'm looking for? Where you own it, where you actually own the rights as to only do that. Like you're the only one to do this.
Monopoly.
There you go. Then it just is what it is.
Mhm.
And again, they're not going to do it the way that you do it. They can't because your idea, your concept, and your delivery, that's you. That is yours.
Mhm.
Now, unless they clone you and clone like exactly how you speak,
Mhm.
the exact wording that you use all the time, like everything about you, then you can say, oh man, this person really, like this person, I think you use the term skin suit.
Mm-hmm.
You talk about my skin suit.
Mm-hmm.
As long as
Wearing
you're not,
it all wrinkled and
you know what I'm saying? Too small, too big, stretching it out, tying it up, wrapping it in, tying it in knots and whatnot. Unless you're trying to wear my skin suit, I'm not really bothered by it. And if you're talking about skin suit, see, I'm more concerned about your health and society at
okay,
large,
right,
because there
right.
is some mental health, a serious mental health thing going on that should be addressed. Than what I am concerned about you mimicking or imitating me,
Totally.
copying me. Other than that, no, I mean, great ideas inspire other great ideas.
Hmm.
Sometimes it takes someone else's idea to give someone else the courage to step out on theirs.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Have you ever been in a position where you thought of something and you never really acted on it, but you thought of something
Hmm.
and you happen to go somewhere else or be somewhere else or be around someone and they say something exactly like what you would say it and you never spoke to them before?
Yep.
So if that can happen to us like that in real life, why do we feel like anything else is not open to chance just like that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we can even see that happen on YouTube a lot where we'll be thinking something or we'll be discussing something with someone and someone that we definitely did not speak with and we didn't say it publicly and there's no way and they say it too. So there's definitely a commonality in the consciousness, especially I think when there's a proximity in space, whether it's cyberspace or not. Personally, I don't have an issue with mimicry. So when I was a kid, um a lot of times when it would happen I wouldn't notice it. It'd be someone else bringing it to my attention, and then when I did notice it, when they were bringing it to my attention, it was on some like, oh no she didn't type of thing. So I assumed at the time when those things were being told to me that that was supposed to be my reaction too, right? Like, oh no she didn't wear her hair like mine, or no she didn't, whatever. But then when I saw it, and this reflects everything that both of you said, it wasn't the same, right? And it was just kind of like her version of it, which didn't bother me, right? Now, if it was my
Hmm.
version of it, I don't even know if that's possible. So it's like I didn't mentally entertain that. But there are times where someone is doing it but lashing out on you at you or attempting to. And here's where a lot of bullying comes in school, things like this, right? So a lot of times you see it immediately, right? And you thwart it, you redirect it, and it's not going to happen. On YouTube, that's another thing I think gets to be exercised big time. I've seen several times where somebody like literally has all this, critique for someone or lack thereof, and the next thing you know, you turn around and they're literally like wearing that person's mask on their face, and I was like, huh? And how do you now that type of thing I think bothers anybody, right?
I'm about to
And
say
Yeah.
that takes me back to my rap days, man. Dude be all like, "Yo, dude is whack," and then like next you know he's spitting your style, and it's like, what?
right, that happens on YouTube a lot, down to like really strange things where it reminds me of the hairstyle type of jacking and things like that. Just strange things. And I see it happen with other people. Like I said, this one particular person, I've seen her mimic a lot of different people. And I think here's where it becomes like cosplay or something, right? Which is okay because this is the internet, right? But here's where it kind of starts to spill over like, well, is it, because people are not interacting as if they're just interacting on the internet. They're interacting as if they're making big differences in the lives of the people that they're speaking with, which should not be the case, right? But the mimicry thing, I feel like there's some more maturing that I have to do in terms of how I look at it, because
Mhm.
there have been times where, like, let's say I'll say something and then I'll hear someone who's been attacking me on YouTube start saying what I'm saying. Now I feel like I'm stealing it from her now when I say it. It's all my thing, you know. Like, did I make that up? Like,
Mine.
like
yeah,
I rem
I'll be really confused for a second. Like, that's how strange it is. I'm
yeah.
like, I know for a fact that that was my thing first, but yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
no, that's what I mean, man. It's like, to kind of have to be in that position. And I'll tell you like this, man, then this whole brain trust thing for going on 6 years, I mean, we've seen our fair share of it. You know what I mean? And so, um, we try to like just stay on the humble with it, but you know, it'll be it'll be like you can see the obvious influence, right? And you just kind of, like I said, it's one thing if you're inspired, that's fine. If it's like from the same person talking shit though, that's where it's kind of bothersome. You know what I mean? There, like you said, there's a fine line to it. And like I said, just in my creative endeavors early on in music, I just tried to make sure that I was respecting the artist that inspired me. That was a conscious decision. um but it seems like, again, and this is a new time where people are socialized differently. People function a lot different, so their scope or spectrum for, say, like, what's respectable, you know what I mean, in terms of how they interpret, like, people say, like, creative boundaries, for example. um that seems to be a thinner line nowadays, or shit, non-existent even, right? Because you got people that can spin up a troll account using your likeness.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? It's almost as if it's like, um, respecting one's own creativity, um, is kind of like it's an option for people nowadays. It's not really like an imperative.
I think also, um, when you are inspired by someone or you're influenced by someone, when it say for instance, when it comes to like the arts or even business or anything rather,
Mm,
and so you have an interest. Well, let's take music. So you have an interest in music. Let's say guitar, playing the guitar, and there are certain artists' style of playing the guitar influences and inspires how you play.
mm-hmm.
But you don't mimic, you don't copycat them, their
Yeah.
style. You just use their way of playing and initiate their way of playing into your learning and your development in creating your own style, right?
Mm-hmm.
After you have created your own style, in my opinion, you don't owe it to pay homage per se to someone else because you've developed your own style from being inspired by them. Now, when someone asks you if you know what was your inspiration, or if you had any inspiration or any influences in your music, then that's the perfect time. But every time that you play your guitar, I don't think you have to announce that your influences to them, to other people, every time you play. Because, in my opinion, it takes away, now, this is just my opinion, it
Mm-hmm.
takes away allowing others to just appreciate your art form. You're then taking what you've done and you're putting it on someone else and who quite possibly may not even be alive anymore. Like they've had their limelight, they've had their audience, and you're not even going after their audience. You're developing and creating your and building your own audience. So there could be a fine line with it, and I think that that's for, of course, for every person to determine. I just don't think that people should feel like that is a must happen thing. Now, if you completely take someone's style, if you completely take someone's body of work or someone's piece of work, and it, you literally duplicate it, then you absolutely owe that homage. Absolutely. Because
I
that's not
mean,
because otherwise you're stealing.
yeah,
And you're trying to
and
get credit for stealing.
yeah, and I mean, to be quite honest with you, in this day and age, it seems like that's kind of like the easiest way to actually do it. So it's almost like that's the preferred method. I mean, you guys remember back in was like the late '90s and I guess maybe 2000s, like Puffy would sample every damn '80s hit he could get his hands on, right? And it was basically going to be a slam dunk because it would be catchy for the radio, and then the old heads would be like, "Hey, that's my jam," you know. And so it's a yeah, that's an easy way to go about it, right? And much like a lot of the other things that Puff is engaged in, he was very shameless in his '80s hits exploits, right?
Kind of think that you're talking about Puff Daddy right now. Continue.
Yeah, you guys catching the little innuendo there. Um, uh, you know what I mean? It's like that is the easy way to do it, and I get, he was very shameless about it, right? He didn't give a damn what people thought. He was just like, listen, I make hits. So, all right. And the people ate it up. Who are we to argue? You know what I'm saying? We can have our opinions, but he was shameless about it, right? He put it in your face. Like, yeah, dude, I'm sampling all this shit. I'm making hits and I'm making money. And like, if you want to continue to have a problem with it, then have a problem with the bank that's holding all the money he's making, right? You know what I mean? So I mean, in that regard, I'm like, all right, well, at least if you're not trying to hide it, I know. So then, I'm under no illusions, right? That's why I'm like, okay, it is what it is. But it's when people do it under, certain auspices
Mm-hmm.
and fake it to your face, but on the low, really can't stand the fact that they can't do what you do, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
it's that other scenario that you're talking about, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the scenario that I was never cool with, and that just is coming from like the rap, the hip hop stuff, right? Especially in the underground side of things, where you know if you were like a dude who had like beats and stuff like that, real good shit, you'd have a ton of MCs that want to jump on your stuff. And so as a producer, that's kind of what you want, right? Because then you can basically name your price. And you'd have other producers though that wouldn't like the fact that, you kind of had that sway and they didn't. You know what I'm saying? So then that's when they look to start maybe emulating what you got going on to try to get some clientele on their tracks. You know what I mean? So that's kind of where I saw it on the music making side back in the day. It was rampant. It was all the time.
Mm-hmm.
It was all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
Um,
can I can think that. As a poet and a performing poet at that, a spoken word artist, I know that it is troublesome, even for me. Now, this I can definitely admit, even for me, to hear someone literally take a whole segment of your piece of work and add it to their piece and not acknowledge it at all. To you, like, just to take one line, but to take a whole segment of your piece. And it's like, and as if you're not even in the same audience, to even hear it.
mhm.
And it's like, wait a minute, did you really just? So if I'm not around, you could completely perform this piece to a different audience and they not know where it actually came from. And so when it comes to things like that, that's definitely that's just thievery. That's just thievery. And it depends on how far you want to go with dealing with that. And I'm gonna tell you honestly, while I find it offensive, I don't find it going to jail offensive. I don't find it I'm gonna take your life offensive. And being a creator personally, being a creator, I mean, a very creative person, I don't take it as if, well, I'm done now. I'm done now as a poet. I'm done. Or you're done now as a poet. No, you just keep creating.
Mm.
Apparently that was good. And how they delivered in their piece is not the same way, again, is not the same way I deliver it in mine, and vice versa. So they can only go so far, maybe, but can they stop my shine because of it? Absolutely not. I'm still gonna shine.
No, they can't, and that's when I opt to, and I'm gonna step away and go grab something for my daughter here in a second. But that's when I opt to kind of go, to maybe kind of explore into the realm of the abstraction, and kind of do things. And this may be where like the delusions of grandeur might come in on my part, right? Because, I hate so much of that, sort of similarity or sameness so much that I'll tend to go to the opposite end of the spectrum within the realm of what I'm doing, right? Um, so I'll obsess over trying to make what I'm doing distinctive from everything else, even if it's say like a damn scooter for something. I'm like, okay, how do I make mine different from the rest of those, right? And I'll sit there and and maybe it's a bit much, or maybe I'm thinking a little too much about it, right? And that's when those delusions of grandeur might be popping up because maybe I am putting a little too much on it and overthinking it. However, what drives me to do that is the fact that I don't like to be associated with regards to sameness. I like to be distinctive, uh, within the realm of what it is that I'm doing. I want to be able to stand out. So people come and look at that and they go, "Oh, interesting. What is that over there?" Right? So, there is a fine line there. I'm not even gonna lie. There is one. But like I said, you have to kind of do it knowing that you have to take a humbled stance with it all.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? There's still the court of public opinion that you're gonna have to deal with ultimately.
Because in that sense, I think I dare to say we all have our own delusion of grandeur in that sense.
Well, we were talking about this earlier. We all have like big ideas, right? Now, how realistic it is, right, to implement or to execute, that's a whole other question, right? And sometimes we may get halfway into a project, first year into a business, and then you sit there and wonder what the hell it is you got yourself into. Right? You know, was I thinking with these delusions of grandeur? Why was I thinking that it was going to be this way when it's actually the opposite, right? And reality sets in. And that's where I'm like, okay, if you've gone through a fair number of failures, throughout your life, that reality or that humbleness will temper you. So as you get older and wiser, you may have big ideas, but they're going to be tempered by the realities of things. So what'll happen is you'll hit a median point where you'll come up with a sensible way to do something. It may not be,
Exactly.
yeah, it may not be
And the
as
ability
big.
to away the delusion, right?
Yeah, it may not be as big as you thought, or let's just say as big as you see it, you understand that you're gonna have to start here first, right? And you're gonna have to kind of incorporate that grandeur that you see. That might be like say year 6 or 7,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so that's pragmatism and reality setting in. So it's not as if you can't have big dreams. You just have to be realistic about them.
Right.
And while
Absolutely.
you're planning anything, you're gonna be hit in the face with realism every 5 seconds, you know. So that will
Seriously.
automatically kind of keep the illusion is gone, you know.
Hey guys, give me just
But
give me just.
and so confidence.
I'll be right back. Give me one
Go
second.
ahead. Okay. I was just saying confidence, like sometimes confidence has to be, and maybe here we're gonna have to play semantics, but so it's kind of like we've talked about this a lot of times in different ways, but like if you don't feel something, you should convince yourself to feel it until it's real, like self confidence, right? A lot of
Mm-hmm.
times when we're younger, issues of self confidence, it's we have to think to ourselves, all right, well, maybe there's somewhere I want to be, whatever that means. And a lot of times it happens with younger people because, you know, there's a maturity that comes into like cultivating your look and understanding how you know, understanding you know. And so, but sometimes there could be this idea of, okay, I'm going to be the face of confidence. And then my cells will eventually understand this is how we're going to be living. So some people could argue that's a delusion, like if they don't, but not really though, I guess, because if they know what they're doing there, right, then they're not
Mhm.
deluded, right? So a
Right.
delusion is just like right, a hallucination basically. So yeah, I guess let's take that away then. No, that doesn't really count. But you know, I would never like when people a lot of times people think that something a behavior is cocky or conceited, and I'm usually not feeling that way about it. If they really feel that way
Mm-hmm.
about themselves and they're presenting it in a way that it's self love and it's not trying to lower anyone else, who can hate on that? That feels good to be around.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But you know what? But even that, it takes other confident people to be able to be around people who are able to express themselves in such a way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. And you know, what's up with this whole thing like, oh, you think you're all that? Like that's some sort of thing that people feel comfortable saying to people as if they don't have to answer to what it is they mean. You know, you think
Mm-hmm.
you're all that. And then if you ask them like, so what exactly are you saying? Right? Like what do you mean by that?
Right.
And there's rarely an answer. But if there is something, a response, which often there will be, the response will be somewhere in revealing what's angering, like how your presence is angering their existence, right? Which is
Exactly.
mm-hmm,
Which really, in my opinion, is them saying is because without you saying it, they have already made you all of that and a bag of chips because that's their perception of you.
exactly,
That is their perception of you. That you
exactly,
are all that. Because if you were not all that, they would not think that you go around thinking that you're all that.
right, exactly,
You know what I'm saying? It's
yeah,
like you're just somewhere minding your business.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
As
mm-hmm,
you do, right? You haven't said anything wrong to this person or anything. You're just minding your business. And because you're just minding your business and you're confident in how you got up that morning, you're confident in what, how you present yourself. Like maybe it's an outfit that you bought and the way you decided to rock it, right? Where you like, you told yourself, man, today, listen, I don't know about you, but I've done it. Like today, I am all that shit. Okay, I
right,
listen. Try to tell me I'm not, and slap yourself. Okay, don't lie to yourself. Yes, I am. And you walk out the
absolutely,
house
yeah,
like you don't have to say anything to anybody. You the way you walk out the house that day and everything that you do is like, man, and it's not about nobody else, right? But you're still speaking to people and everything, but somebody else sees your ability to do that and they're like, oh, she thinks she all that.
right.
And you hear from somebody
Person
else,
didn't have to work for that.
right, exactly. And it's like, okay, well, I'm not going to not be all of that and the bag of chips that I walked out the door as this morning because of how you feel. Like so you just matter of fact, you just validated. And I didn't even do it for your validation. I didn't do it because I needed your confirmation or anybody's. Have
Well,
you have you ever done
Right.
that? Real like you're like, I
People.
don't need like if nobody else tell me that this outfit is bomb, like it's the bomb to me and that on it, I'm on it.
well, that's called that's
Yeah,
personal
and that
style.
feeling of
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Rilla.
no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say that's personal style. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? When you kind of dress, I like to dress for comfort. I like to dress for what feels good on me, right? Not, and then what obviously, I don't want that to. That's personal style, right? Some people do that, but then they look like a whole smorgasbord of colors, right? But then there's other people that like I'm more like blend into the background type of person. I like to wear muted colors, uh and stuff like that. So it's really I don't really wear like loud shit. So that's a personal style thing. Yeah, that whole thing of like you know wanting people to notice your outfit or something like that, that's another one of those sort of social media type, well,
If
maybe not.
nobody, that's the thing. If not, it's like nobody else has to notice it. If this is when you like you honestly like you don't care about anybody else's opinion. You when you put it on and you were like, God, listen, hold on a second. I wait a minute. I forgot all about these shoes. Oh my God, these shoes right here. But this, and then you're like, oh my, wait a minute, hold on. You know that chain belt? Oh my God, are they even doing chain belts? I don't know, but
I don't know.
remember,
I've never had a chain belt in my life.
and you go get that chain belt, and you're like, oh my, you're like, wait a minute, hold on. It's no, it's you know what? I need to flip my hair over. Yes, let like it's and you it's like it's not about nobody else. It's what you know that you did because with a woman especially, even our fashion can be art, an expression of art for us. I saw a woman at the grocery store about 2 weeks ago, and I was coming in and she was coming out. When I tell you she made my head turn, baby, she made me stop and turn. And I had to go up to her. I was like, lady, let me tell you something, girl. You are beautiful. And you are rocking that outfit, girl. Girl, you go. And her humility, her humbleness with my compliment
Hmm.
and the way she blushed and smiled was like it was totally unexpected,
Well,
right?
yeah, blushing is a sign of like that's like it's a sign of, I forget what they say it is, but it's sort of like a subtle state of shock in a way,
Right,
right? Because
right.
so that's like a genuine response.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. But the way she was dressed, let me describe it. She had on a long skirt and it had loose pleating, right? And it was more of a like a 60s, 70s style, right? Then she had on a fitted sweater and the colors of everything was like a taupe and autumn leaves.
Hmm.
Then she had on like the 70s style, so but it was quite stylish. It was chic and stylish, and it was just her, right? And it was one of those things where it was just like, and she had her hair. She was brown skinned, and she had her hair in an afro, and she had in the front of her afro, she had like a little distinct but subtle braiding, pulling the afro back, mini afro back. And her makeup was very subtle, but she had very good complexion, right? So it wasn't heavy, it was just barely noticeable. and it just went with everything. And so she was like, "Thank you," and and her expression, and the humbleness of it let me know that it was something that she completely did not think anyone else would get, right?
She into
But then,
Cali guys? No, I'm
huh?
joking. As a joke.
But then I turned and I said, you know what I did? I said, "Nah." I said, thank you for letting us see you today. Thank you. But only other confident people can do that. Would you agree, real life?
Is she muted? She might have stepped away.
Yes, I'm here. I was muted. I could hear everything you guys were saying, but I had a lot of noise going on in the background, so I was muted. Yes, I will definitely agree. And when people, that's like when you're young and you have the choice to be an envious person or not. Like, I feel like that's a choice that everyone's been confronted with. Like, if you see something that someone has that you want, and it feels maybe even unattainable, like maybe a genetic thing, right? To think of it as, okay, well, let me see what I like about that and let me do that and let me do it so dopely that I like it better. Now that comes with experience of learning and trying things out. But once you do, you realize there's no place for envy or jealousy. However, of course it takes something to jump to that, right? So it's like, is a person inherently hateful? No. It's powerlessness, right? So it's ironic because like the delusion of grandeur really does come from a place of feeling nothingness, which again,
Mm.
narcissism, I've always argued, well, not always, but I've argued after really kind of chewing it up and really understanding what people mean, it comes from a place of not having any ego. So it's ironic that the person lives their whole life concentrating on forming that through the abuse of others or through the feedback of others, which is really the centerpiece of what a narcissistic personality is, right? So yeah, so like it comes from nothingness and like let's create something at the expense of everybody else. But so the decision on envy, right? So you realize that you have the power to transmute anything that you don't want to experience and turn it into something that you do, or you can shift your perspective, which is kind of what we were talking about before, and then make it to that you are now loving that thing that you said is to be loved, right? However that goes in a more specific type of situation, but the broader thing being like fake it till you make it, right? Like we were talking about. So those are the chances to learn more confidence for people who don't feel like to compliment the person, bless you, amen, who don't want to compliment the person or things like that, and or they feel like it took something away from them, like there's not enough flyness around the world to go around, they can learn from that and be like, well, how does it feel to just not hate that and see what happens, and they can give themselves room to feel even better about themselves with whatever specific thing or everything. But I guess it takes a lot of something to be able to do that. You have to have some material given to you by your parents to be able to do that. Like, you're not going to come into the world with that. You're not going to, like, I mean, I guess some people maybe have more material to come into the world with that. I don't mean physical stuff. I mean maybe just kind of like a more bravado type of personality or something like that. But I still don't think that that's rooted in confidence. Not boo. Zone came in talking about boo.
Ooh.
Why
Yeah,
you hate?
he no, because he's expecting me to go back to the Nordschleife.
Oh yeah,
He's
yeah, the racetrack. That was
yeah,
funny.
yeah, no, he was ripping me last night. Yeah. No, I
Yo,
tried.
Complex spent like 10 minutes between every crash trying to figure out what he was doing wrong. I'm like, yo, concentrate on what you did right. Keep it moving. He's like, but before you even went on the track, you were talking about you were gonna crash. I'm like, yo, that's fine.
I knew
That's
it, man.
attitude.
I freaking knew it. No, Nordschleife is hard as hell. It's just, yeah, I know Zone. No, Nordschleife is hard as hell, and I already knew it. Now I need to practice. It's been a while since I've been on it. But hey, I got a question for you guys.
Yeah.
All right. So we rarely talk about this crap on this channel, like hardly ever. Okay, literally hardly ever. But delusions of grandeur when it comes to this whole like dating crap.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I don't know. Is it on both sides? You guys tell me.
So, whoa, okay. So let's talk about talking points. I guess I'm the one who keeps bringing everything back to YouTube. Let's talk about talking points with male and female relationships, men and women relationships on YouTube, right? This idea of high value and what do you bring to the table.
Yes, that stuff.
I wish I would hear one more pudgy, vertically challenged,
Ugh.
ineffectual, not respected by even his own family in actual life come on YouTube talking about how high value he is and what this scale is that everyone else is supposed to concentrate on. Those are delusions of grandeur, right? So these guys go out and think that they're being taught by these weird dating coaches on how to behave. So they go out into the world acting like that. That's one side of it. But the other part is that there must have been something happening before that. So I think a lot of people feel like they're either the other person is bringing so, like there's always this imbalance, right? The person feels like the other person's bringing so much or that they're bringing so much, but this weird manosphere thing has spilled over into actual talking points. Like I remember talking to this guy who's way too old to be talking like this, and he was a public figure, so it was like he had already been very in the loop of, like, you know, popular culture, what's going on, X, Y, and Z. And he was talking one time on his show talking about yeah, and so what does she bring to the table? And I'm thinking, fool, you just got a 21-year-old Korean's liver talking about you had to pay $10,000, 10,000
Oh
extra
yeah,
dollars for
yeah.
them to liver, but you're talking about what does she bring to the table? No, you brought a
What?
whole someone else's liver to the table. So let's start there. So, you know, delusions of grandeur in dating. I think some guys, this whole, and that goes to the fake it till you make it thing. They hear these coaches talking and they go out into the real world thinking that just because they're a man, they're the prize. And I think that's a really disturbing way of thinking. Just like a woman thinks just because she has a vagina, she's bringing something to the table. Now, I'd argue that she has more of a right to think that way because of how men behave versus the other side. Might be a very
Mhm.
statement, but it
Wait,
is
you
what it is.
said wait, you said women have more of a right to think what?
That woman who thinks that way might have more of a right to think that way because of the way that the feedback from men is stating that that is true. Apparently, according to many men, that is all you need, right? So
What is
why?
all?
Mhm.
What is all you need? What do they
The
say?
vajay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
That's what they're saying.
Well, I'm not saying that's what every guy thinks, but that is a
No,
very
I'm saying like no.
popular
I'm just
thing.
that's
Sure.
interesting. Okay.
Sure.
Mhm. Mhm.
Now, a lot more to say about that, but I'll stop there.
Okay.
Now,
Because there's like the flip side to that, right? So let's mirror that. Right. There's like the sprinkle lady or something. And
I don't know
and
who that
so
is.
yeah, some lady that says sprinkle or something. And so she has all these girls going around, these chicks going around saying sprinkle or something,
What
right?
does it mean? What does sprinkle
I have
sprinkle mean?
no clue. Not
Okay.
no clue. This is some TikToker. I don't know
Okay.
where I don't know it's from. I just heard about it, right? I've seen it. And it's just like and it's the and they these women get these to me these are delusional ass talking points. Right? Because here's what happens. So on my side of the equation, right? I fancy myself to be a somewhat intelligent person. Okay. Put me on an electric scooter, I might do some of the dumbest shit. But outside of that, I think I'm a pretty intelligent person, right? And I think my emotional intelligence quotient is relatively high. You know, I'll give myself, I'll pat myself on the back for that. Um, no way in hell does any sort of logical thinking, productive man ever think to pair himself with people who really think this way. And this is where like the delusion comes in. Let's just say from my observations about the type of things that women say, right? I guess I don't know if they call it the women's sphere or whatever they call it. But like from my observation, there's so many things that are just completely like off base. They're just like I'm like, what the fuck? Like, are you like really? Because in my head, I'm like, all right, if that were true, you would literally would not be here saying this right now. It would literally be in practice, right? So in my head, I like much like how you guys see, the manosphere combos and stuff, right? I'll hear of some of that stuff over there, and I'm like, that is insane. I don't. If you ask me, any sound thinking man is gonna like literally avoid all of that shit at all costs. So where they're getting these pools of millionaires from, I had no clue.
I'll be right there.
You're good, Rain
Yeah.
Woman. No,
Yeah.
you're good, Rain Woman. You're good. Go ahead. Yeah, if real life walked away, go ahead.
It is I think it's laughable. I think a lot of things that were meant to be a conversation for fun or light wit has been taken way too serious and now it's just gone off the rails.
Yeah, it's the power of social media and uh, we were speaking to this earlier because, as a Gen Xer, I don't recall. I don't recall things being so prima facie. There wasn't this digital interface that everyone lived through. Back in the day, it was you had people's phone numbers. Typically, you memorized it, and you guys met up in real time to kick it and hang out and do what you did. And so socialization works a lot different than it does today, right? So you can essentially create a persona, and if you're savvy enough with the digital technologies, i.e., like YouTube and Instagram and all this type of stuff, you can build up a following literally off of that persona, and then get to a point where you can just live right through it. You know,
Exactly.
so it's we're in a different time where people interact with each other in a different form, in a different manner.
It's not the healthiest way, but I agree. Um, and I think some people may not have expected things to go as far as they did, but once they did, it was too late to reel it back.
I mean, the- everybody has there's you have a choice in how you use all this stuff, right? I
Hmm.
think the problem is that people too easily lose themselves in all of this. Like I said, it's almost as if it's like these digital media platforms, they kind of suck your consciousness into it, to the point where now a lot of your thoughts and memories, your photos and videos and all this, it's all cloud. It's all in the cloud now, right? And so much more of your life is done through this digital interface, right? Life
Hmm.
is lived on the outside to stick it into the digital, right? Like, think about people who go to like concerts and clubs and shit. They go there to do what? Flip out their phone. You're
Hmm.
supposed to be there to like enjoy the musicians. The musicians are playing for people who with their phones out.
No, well, because the thing is now, come on now, complex design. The
Yeah.
thing is to let everybody know that you were there.
Okay, well then you know what? When you leave the
Right.
concert, when you leave the concert, then that's when you pull your phone out and then you go and you do your little. Oh my God! That this concert was so great. Heart, heart, heart emojis, right? And then everybody can like heart it and love it. Oh my God! I want
They'd
to
be
go
like,
and
"Why are
see
you
him.
standing out in front of the concert you didn't go to?"
You know what I'm saying? It's like, God damn, dude. It's like It's like you went to the real life event to throw it into cyberspace, no pun intended. Um, you know what I'm saying? It's like, wow,
Yeah, they
you
do
were
it with
there.
your food, with everything.
Yeah,
Look at that great
dude,
meal
this is
I'm
what I
about
mean.
to eat. It's
This
getting
is what I'm
cold
talking
and
about.
I'm
They
taking a
do
picture
it
of
with
it.
food. That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
You go to the restaurant and it's just like all these angles of your food. It's like, is it delicious or what? It's like by the time they get to eating, it's all cold and shit.
Right.
I'm sorry. Spawn says nobody is living in the moment. I 100% agree with you. Wholeheartedly, bro.
And they're so deluded to think that no, it's capturing the moment. It's elongating the moment. No.
Dude, oh my god, no.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna tell you, like, that's why I was saying that I have a fear that we may actually touch on what we were talking about in the last one we did. Um, because it really does it really kind of speaks to this sort of transhumanist thing. That's why I'm like, no, this is a digital thing. This whole delusional type of it is terraforming the human mind. It really is to think different. It really is. Um, and to speak to Spawn's point, it's like I would much rather be at a concert and just literally be present there, and then maybe like post a comment about it later after I got home. That makes more sense to me.
You also grew up in a time where you had the leisure and the opportunity to do that, whereas a lot of people have grown up with that's the only way to really show you're having fun. Like, some people,
Good point.
thank you, like they'll yell and be like, "Whoa, I'm having such a great time!" Like that's how they say they're having a great time instead of just having a great time. So that's like another version of that.
Yeah, or like, see, so like for example, you put LOL in the chat, right? And it's because you probably literally laughed out loud, but then you put it in the chat to express that you did that.
Hmm.
Versus, you ever heard people say LOL? Like say it.
I've done it.
On movies,
It's
yeah, that's
Oh
sarcasm.
weird.
shit, I'm sorry. I've
That shit is
always
weird.
thought, because I was just like, okay, well, why didn't you just laugh out loud? You know what I mean? I'm sorry. I didn't mean to bring that up.
That was actually part of the premise that we were basing this on because there's a difference between any conversation, right? Any a conversation versus a conversation that happens purposefully in public, right? So the second that you decide to say, well, this is a conversation that we're going to have, it is going to be a natural conversation, but we're going to do it publicly, it changes a couple things. First of all, there should definitely be an objective, right? Even if people just enjoy talking, there definitely should be an objective, whether it's to make clarity on, to give clarity to something from your perspective, whatever it is, right? There should be that there. And I think this also spills into why it's a breeding ground for this delusion of grandeur sort of thing. Because it's like this OD self-importance. Like when Rainy Woman, when you mentioned before about the person who has a successful business and they're like, oh, pat me on the back all day. Or the guy who's like, yo, I'm a good father. I see my kid every day. It's like, yeah, good. Right. So, those types of things are like, but yeah, so it adds to that. Or it's like, oh, I'm doing something so important, like, and then of course it's like, anything can be looked at as positive feedback, which creates this monster, which is, we've all grown up hearing some people will choose negative feedback over zero feedback, but we really see that come to an extreme on social media. And so that if the currency is attention, right, and it doesn't matter what kind it is, then that's definitely, I think, delusions of grandeur at their finest.
Agreed.
I want to. There's two comments here, right? So Spawn says, he said, I noticed I was doing that at concerts as well. I'll probably record my favorite song and then that's it. Yeah, it happens, man. Now, well, to be honest with you, I haven't been to the last concert I was actually at was my buddy Adrian's. It was at the Regent in LA, and this was like literally after I had got back to LA, and he did a show. Matter of fact, I think what I'll do is I'll hit him up. I'm gonna ask him if it's okay. That whole entire show is on YouTube. It is one of the raddest concerts I've been to, and it was like literally like one of the last ones. But that was back in 2015. That was some years ago, and uh, I don't know if people were doing the phone thing as hardcore as they do it today. I'm not 100% sure. I didn't see it like that. Um, when I was there. The Afro SF, he said, great chat. I've met people who have gone to great concerts, and when I asked them what it was like, they said they don't remember because they were high. Oh my God. That is terrible. Like, what was the point?
To
That
be
is
somewhere that
that's
everybody else was
very
going to be.
that's very offensive. It is. I'm sorry, Rainy Woman. Go ahead.
The point was to be somewhere where everyone else was going to be. That's it.
I mean, but come on. Well, but you spent the money. You're gonna go there. Why are you gonna be like blown out of your? I do. I used to get toasted. We used to hot box in the car before we'd go in and see a show. But the whole thing was that I could tell you all about the music and everything and how great it was. Dude, I was smoking weed at the concert I was just telling you about
Or maybe
in
they didn't
at
expect
the
to get that
venue.
high.
Huh?
Maybe they didn't expect to get that high.
Well, okay. Well, you know what? It's Afro SF. It's his people's. He could probably tell us more about it. I'm just like kind of tripping on the fact that uh, you know you don't remember anything because you were so damn high. It's just like what? Either that or I don't know who they went to go see, but maybe they weren't all that great. Now I will give them that. Who knows? Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, Spawn. Like you can't be that high to not remember. They're like, dude, that's from on. I'm like, what? All right, sorry. Enough about being high.
Or maybe the high was the highlight.
Then that says everything about the artist they went to go see. Ugh,
And them.
yeah, yeah, everything was all bad. Um, but let's see. I think I covered those comments there. All right. So, uh, yeah, they kind of go back to the delusions of grandeur with regards to the topic du jour in the greater Black YouTube spaces and social media spaces, right? You know, like the list that came out about what restaurants to not take a chick to or something, right? You know, you know, here's my thing, right? I
I've
wonder
still yet
if
to see this list, by the way, but go ahead.
wait, what'd you say? What'd you say?
I've still yet to see this list. I've not seen it, but go
Let me
ahead. I just
let me,
wanted to make
let
that.
me
Oh,
tell
it's
you.
such a ridiculous list.
Look, let me tell
Uh,
you, it's so ridiculous that my favorite street taco spot that's around the corner is not on it. So, should I be offended if I took them there and they were like, "What?" And I'm gonna be like, "It's not on the list." I'm
Oh
sorry.
man.
I didn't see it. I didn't see Lino's on the list. I'm sorry. I swear to you, though, the tacos are the best. Come on, what like, no, what is that shit?
How dare you take someone to a taco stand on the first date just because they have great tacos to you? How dare you?
It's like you haven't even tried it yet.
What are you thinking?
Okay, are you gonna try it though? I swear to you, they're good. Try it. It's on me. What's it gonna hurt? I'm paying for it.
It's beneath them.
It's a taco and it's good. Eat it.
People who aren't used to shit are the ones who always want to look down on everything, in my view.
Yes.
You know,
Or again, people that are just in they have this delusion of grandeur because of their entitlement.
Okay. Where does where does
hmm
where does entitlement come from?
Because the entitlement is I am entitled to have you spend X amount of dollars on a first date just because I showed up, just because I agreed to go on a date with you.
I
And
know,
just
but
because
there
and
has
just
to
because
be.
everything anything below this dollar amount means I can't take you serious.
But okay, so then how do we quantify that though? So you say the dollar amount. Let's say what's the dollar amount? Give me a dollar amount. Was it $500 or something for the date?
Um I don't
No, I'm just we're just
support
we're
this ridiculous list.
no,
So
we're kind of going with this, right? Like what,
I think
500?
it
Is that the going rate?
I think about 2 to 300.
2 to 300. Okay.
Hmm.
So 2 to 3. Okay, so what is it? Okay, I'm a guy. I spend the two. What am I getting out of this? Okay, so like I go to the restaurant. We're not going to obviously we're not going to the taco place. It's $200 to $300. We're not going to eat that many tacos, right? So we're going somewhere else. So um, I'm thinking what, like a steak place or some shit, right? I could have went to the store, bought the steak and everything, and just because I can cook, that's a skill.
But that's
Um,
not a first date.
no, I get it, but what I'm saying is that I'm trying to understand where the justification in saying $200 to $300 for the date, right? And I'm saying, okay, if I'm paying this to go and get like a steak dinner with you, I'm not getting anything out of being with you, but I'm feeding you steak and potatoes. I could have just cooked that at home, and if you didn't want any, I could have just ate it myself. And then there's that. I'm trying to figure out where the value proposition comes in. That's all.
I can't help you with it. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Well,
I would
Well,
like to, but I'm out of the realm.
even though I don't agree with it, though, you actually agree with all that stuff, but you did already answer it though, Raymond. It was the meaning I agree with what you said though. It's the showing up part, but I think also the idea is that it's a shared experience, and so that the standard is high for the experience, right? And that's what people base. That's how people will attach the money to it. So if it's a
hmm.
cheap date, it seems like it's not important or it's not given a lot of value. People looking at themselves as commodities, you know. I
Yeah.
think going on a first date is annoying anyway. No, I don't feel like sitting in front of someone or having them sit in front where we're eating and like it's annoying. Like I'd rather just do something else. So the whole thing is strange. But also, anytime a person's been to a whole bunch of restaurants, great and regular, they know that the money does not necessarily mean anything except to say, "Oh, you went there," which is why I think it's more about
Exactly.
Yeah.
getting
And
food,
then that's more for show, right? Isn't that more
Mhm.
for show than
Well,
what it
yeah, because
is?
that's when the phone comes
Mhm.
out, and then they take the pictures that you guys were talking about the pictures for Instagram.
Mhm.
You know, that's when all that happens.
Mhm.
Or for bragging rights to your girls?
Yeah,
Girl, honey, yes, because
did
you
you
know he
see
won't
my
let me
gram?
nowhere else.
Did you see
Yeah.
my gram, girl?
Well, what did y'all talk about across the table? What did you talk about at dinner? Girl, well, the usual. The usual what?
What is the usual? I'm
Some
curious.
old bullshit, you know.
Right.
What are
Yeah,
you doing?
Spawn, I agree with you, man. First date, I'm taking a chick go karting.
Yeah, like those make a lot more sense. Those,
No, I was
but yeah,
already thrilled.
interactive dates. Yeah, that makes a lot more sense in general too. I
Exactly.
mean, because like Complex was saying, I can eat at home. I can make that at home. So that's like the whole thing of eating somewhere and date and putting that. That's why it gets confusing because yeah, but if a person, let me ask you this: if you spent Complex, if you spent like let's say $400 to I don't know go and what happened? Did he have a forced exhalation from $400? What happened?
Wait, what? Wait, what did you say?
Oh,
What did she say?
when I said $400, you were like, oh.
Oh no, I was taking a swig of beer.
Oh,
and
okay, okay.
Oh,
I had like one of those like deep diaphragm burps, and I didn't want it to like be super loud.
Gotcha. Okay.
okay.
Yeah, so it was like,
I'm glad we clarified that because I was
my
sure
bad.
that
I'm
was a
sorry. I just heard you like
The
$400, and
timing
then I
of it,
said, wait,
though.
what happened?
Mhm,
I just didn't
mhm.
want to burp real loud. I'm sorry.
No, no, all good. So
So wait,
let's
repeat
say
what you were
that would
saying.
you so let's say you spent 400, or what was the amount? 200 to 300 bucks. Say you spent, let's put it at the
Yeah,
lower end,
two to
200
300.
bucks.
Okay.
Okay, so let's say you spent 200 bucks for what you just said, like going go-karting or bumper cars or whatever. Then, which
Yeah.
is dope, right? That's fun. Both of those are fun. I don't know if bumper cars still exist, which is why I laughed. But would you ask that question? What would I be getting out of it? Would if it's not eating? Because I noticed what you said attached to the whole eating thing and the food thing. Would you still feel that question would come up?
No, because we're going go karting. We're going go karting. What do you mean? What am I? I'm gonna. You know what I'm gonna get out of go karting? Fun. What I'm
Right.
saying. What I'm
So
saying is,
now
if look,
your question can be understood better. Go ahead.
yeah, because I'm like, okay, like that whole again the whole grandeur delusions of grandeur thing, right? This whole, well, if you want to take me out on a date, it's gonna so right. So if I'm gonna spend $300, 300 bucks, fuck it, we're gonna go karting. Okay, because that's gonna be a trip out to the track, and I
Hmm.
gotta pay for the rentals, right? There's all this stuff, right? See, if I'm gonna spend that money, we're gonna fuck it, we're gonna go karting. I'm gonna.
And why not? Right?
It's
Because
fun. I'm gonna get three
exactly,
hundred dollars of fun. I'm gonna have fun.
exactly.
Like I said, if I go to a restaurant and it's like, well, you gotta take me, and I'm like, okay, so what, you want to eat some steak and all that? Dude, I can cook that shit. I'll
And
fire up
then
the grill.
afterwards,
What are you
probably
talking
go
about?
home.
And not only that, it's not only just me. You're gonna be cooking with me. You better be able to cook. That's another conversation. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And then afterwards, after you go to this restaurant and spend this $300 minimum, basically, well, maybe the max between the two of you, maybe. Then after the conversation, and then you probably more than likely are going to go home, go your separate ways because it's the first date, right? Maybe that's, you might go to one of each other's places, maybe, but it's not a guarantee, right? It's a possibility. It's not a guarantee. So the minimum expectation is to part ways and see how you vibe with each other, right? But the inclination began with the dollar amount, which I reason to say or argue to say that these same women that came up with this list probably don't even take themselves out or go out with their girlfriends to these particular places without a guy on a regular basis, if at all. But the expectation is for a guy that they just met, maybe had one or two conversations with, to take them there for a first date, which is just to get to know the person. And you're not going to really get to know them that much at a dinner date.
Let me
You're
ask you
just not.
something.
Yeah, and
I
the
gotta.
idea is like, oh, if you pay enough, then I'm gonna give you something. Because I've heard, and this is like a graduation or the granddaughter of the thought, well, if he didn't spend this amount of thing, I'm not going home with him, which is like, what? So it's clearly this idea of exchange, which is
Yeah.
strange. Hmm.
I,
But then if you're called a HOE because of that thought process, then it's a problem, right?
but
But
Well,
is
I
that
think so.
not
I mean, I don't
okay?
think no.
Because is that
I
not
mean, I meant to
HOE
say, I don't
activity?
think there's no. I mean to say no. There's a problem with the behavior, which is why they're called hoes. But no, I don't think that there's a problem with them being called a hoe because that would be the exact definitive term to use.
yeah, there would be a problem with not calling them that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Then what do you call the chicks who aren't that, right? Like, how do you make a
Well,
distinction?
tell it people with low standards. Let those same people tell it. You know.
Right, right.
you know, So let me go back to a point that you made, Roland. So let me ask you something. So do I do is it higher the amount that you spend on a date? Is it that you unlock these levels of personality or something? How does this work?
I
Like,
don't know because I mean, then it's like, how does the tally go? Because it's like if the folks are doing more than one thing, so it's like let's say that the first thing was cheap, but the little I don't I don't know how that would work. Personally, when I'm going out on dates with people, when I was in the dating pool, what I looked for was not where we were going per se. Now, don't get me confused because especially with these guys, these incel guys who call themselves like now understanding that they're a prize. Those guys, like I said, they're in actual life. And I went out on a date with some guy, and he wasn't. I didn't know he was talking that manosphere shit until I later on heard what those people were saying. I was like, oh, okay, that's that thing. And his perspective was, oh, you have to do the opposite of something. Basically, in other words, what he's saying is you have to knock a bitch down a peg. That he didn't say that, but that's what he's saying. And so those types of people will do things like, oh, okay, let's meet at Burger King. And it's like, no, because I know what you think you're doing. So now there's no date at all. Type of
Mm-hmm.
situation doesn't mean that, oh, fuck Burger King, even though yeah, fuck Burger King, like, but I'm saying, you know,
wait
it's
a
just
minute. Wait a minute. Okay,
don't
this
act
is
like you
see,
don't know those guys exist because they're crawling all
no,
over.
no, no, no. That's not what I'm doing. That's not what I'm doing. Like, okay, all right. Like, what? And this is coming from a guy, and I'm in full disclosure. I never really dated, like ever. I'm gonna be honest with you. Now,
Mm-hmm.
what happened was that like let's just say like with my wife, right? Um, we got to know each other to the point where we kind of like maybe just kind of found ourselves in a relationship. I don't know how to explain it. It was very organic, right?
But you
But
guys were already friends, like you were
yeah,
already
that's what I mean.
familiar with each
Yeah,
other.
and
So
then
this
at
was not someone that you just met, which would be different.
right, and so at that point, a date was literally these things were all this money and this and you know what I'm saying? That's why I'm
Yeah.
like, what's the conversation on the phone between these people?
Mm-hmm.
Um, to where we're kind of like faced with these sort of like these exchanges right here where it's I like I don't understand from a woman's perspective how well, okay, I'm not a woman, so I guess I won't understand that, right? But I guess there's gonna be any number of suitors who are gonna try to get on the phone with her to try to do something with her, right? I think though, from a guy's perspective, I just don't understand how they do it. I don't even understand how you're the type of woman you're engaging with that where she says that to you and then you somehow go along with it. I would have just been like, "Hey, you know what? Like, you know what? Yeah, wrong guy on the phone here. I'm sorry. Have a nice life. I'm off the phone. That's it." So I'm not even sure
Which
what it
is
is
why
that
you have to have the vetting process.
huh?
Yeah. Like I don't need, yeah, you have to have a vetting process. I've never
Yeah,
understood how people go out on dates not knowing the person or not having some sort of foundation. That's weird. That's really strange.
yeah. I just the how these conversations go nowadays. It's also kind of like a head scratcher to me. Um,
Mhm.
because just like I said, $300 to take, and I'm like, what? Who the fuck are you?
I don't
Well,
think that
see,
the
that comment.
conversation. Go ahead, Real.
No, no, go ahead, go ahead.
I don't think that there's an actual conversation where a woman is like, "Hey, okay, so you want to go out? Okay, well then, here is my requirements for me to agree to go out with you. If we're not going here, then I'm not." going to go. We're not going to go on a date. I think what happens of it is women agree to go. Now I don't know for sure. I'm just thinking here that they're agreeing to go on a date, and when they get there, or when the guy says where they're going to meet at, then the judgment comes. And they may go, but they've already predetermined how far they're going to go on the date and how much information they're going to give of themselves during the date because it did not meet their requirement.
I would say that they knew when they decided when they agreed to go, they knew like what they were going for, right? And this is kind of where like the whole dating thing never made sense to me. Because look, there's not to get into the talking points, but as a guy, it's like I've lived long enough to kind of understand, like, you know men do what men do, women do what women do, and that's kind of just what it is, right? But it's this insistence that, okay, requirements for a date should be no less than X dollar amount, right?
Hmm.
You know,
That's
or
lame.
or there's a list of restaurants. That's why I was like, okay, well, I don't see Lino's Tacos on this, so we're gonna go around the corner. you know, you know what I mean? We're gonna have like some fucking tacos, and they're bomb as shit. And we could talk about some shit over some tacos. What's up? You
I
know
mean,
what I mean?
honestly,
It,
there's
it,
something
it just
really
seems like that
depressing
shit is
about.
just. Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Mm-mm, no, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just saying, it just seems as though it's just like, fuck. It's like, once again, the delusions of grandeur. Like, this shit is supposed to be all these big, extravagant whatevers, and sometimes, dude, the best things are some fucking street tacos.
Well, I mean, like, there's something really depressing about not knowing someone that well. Let's say in that first date scenario situation, um, and sitting in like I don't know a lot of these places, but I don't know, Chuck E. Cheese or something. I don't know, like, and then there's all the theme
You
stuff
say
around.
Chuck
It's
E.
just
Cheese.
depressing. Like, I just find all of that stuff depressing. Like, I've worked in food and drink service for a really long time. I've never done fast food, but I had worked in it, not anymore, obviously, but for a long time. Well, not under that capacity. And it's like the whole environment is just depressing. Even when you're working there, you see people on dates and they're trying to like, act fun and comfortable. It's just the whole thing is just so depressing and
It's
annoying.
ick,
Like,
yeah.
you know what I mean? So it's like to
Hmm.
to think that now people are saying like, these are the choices. So now, like you said, it has to be something that someone has heard about. So if I don't, if like I've never been in Outback Steakhouse a day in my life, right? But like I speak to a lot of people in Korea, and so they have those restaurants there, and to them it's so cool and so fun. They're like, yeah, we went to Outback, it was awesome, and like I feel sad for some reason. I don't know, something about just those certain like environments just make me feel sad. And like
Because you know what, you wanna know what that is? Okay, we know. Do you remember like the Outback Steakhouse commercials from years back when it used to be like a popular thing, and they had the Australian guy talking? Like they literally
vaguely,
they tried to sell it to you literally with an Australian accented guy. Okay,
yeah, that I remember
and
the accent. Yes.
yeah, and
Nice.
we're jaded Gen X, you know, been pounded over the head with advertising up the wazoo for the majority of our lives, right? We look at these commercials, they're trying to sell you this whole experience and all this kind of stuff. We
Hmm.
just look at it and we just go, "Pff, whatever." And
Hmm.
then when some people in another country tell you, "Oh my God, Outback Steakhouse," and you're just sort of like, "Oh my God, really?"
Yeah.
And that's kind of what it is. It's like for us, it's just another um
It's
what's
a
it
forced environment. Like
yeah,
that's the
Right.
Ruby
problem,
Tuesdays. What were some of those other ones?
Yeah, that's another those that's depressing too. All of it is
Yeah, that's
depressing.
what I'm saying. It's like it's in the same boat.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So
And we make the experience. The environment doesn't make the experience. We make the experience. But
Exactly.
because of this advertisement and the commercialization of everything,
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but because this also is a society of high consumerism, which pushes the economy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and influences people's decisions and thoughts about a certain place before they
Mm-hmm.
even get there, right? To give you some impression.
Mm-hmm.
But we are the actual experience. How we experience this atmosphere is not determined by the atmosphere, it's determined by us.
Mm-hmm.
that's why I'm making a case for tacos. That's why I'm like, what's wrong with some fucking tacos? You don't like tacos? Like,
And which a taco stand, like what you're saying here, and you enjoy the tacos, right?
Mhm.
Would be a perfect finish from go-kart riding.
Hey, I
And
don't
you
see
can
nothing wrong with
learn
it.
a lot about a person, I would think, going on a date, getting to know someone at while go kart because you get to know how they act, in a line with these kinds of people. How are they, how do they respond to this type of energy with the go karts? How do they respond to you? Is there laughter, or do they are they easily agitated, by certain
They try to run you over. Yeah.
Exactly. Did something come up? Did they have like a flashback or something? And now everything's a mess. Like you can really determine a lot by an experience like that, right?
Mhm.
But let's say you have a great time, right? Like there's laughing, and you're like, oh my God, the way that other girl came and she smashed into your car from out of nowhere when I was trying to get to you. Then, so there's that high from that, and maybe walking around, there as well. And so going from that to like, hey, are you hungry? Yeah, I am kind of hungry now. I did work up an appetite. I mean, yeah, we were only go karting and throwing our bodies around and smashing into things for like 2 hours. Of course, I'm hungry. I know this great taco stand. Do you like tacos? Oh, I love tacos. Man, listen, I know this great taco stand. I don't know if you feel familiar with it, but it's such and such. Oh, I drive by there, but I've never really stopped. Oh man, you've got to get a time. Well, let's go. So
Mm-hmm.
now you're
No,
really getting the vibe.
Yeah. Well,
Or if they're like,
smart.
I can't stand tacos. I
Well,
don't
I
like
mean,
tacos.
that's what I mean. It's like, look, I don't know. I'm the type of person where by the time I'm doing this type of stuff with you, I kind of have an idea of the type of food you like and all that. Because look, I'm gonna tell you right now, Ryle and I we're gonna be doing Sapio-Males live streams on food, right? Because food compatibility is a real thing. Okay.
absolutely.
It's yes, it is a very real thing. Like the whole gastronomy thing, right? That's a major component when it comes to being compatible with somebody, whether we know this or not. Um, so it's sort of like, you know, I don't know. I'm the type person where I'm gonna just talk to you for like a really long time before anything happens because I need to know about you, right? Know what to suggest. Maybe it's got to be the other way around as well. Hopefully, this is a two-way street. Hopefully, you know what I mean. And ideally, for me, I'm the type of person that like I'd prefer to cook something. I'd prefer we just get in the kitchen and cook something together, right? That's kind of what I mean. Because look, here's the thing, right? Let's just say over some long-term stuff. And damn, I'm gonna have to go run to
I'll
the
be right
restroom.
back.
You gotta run to.
Okay.
Oh shit! Okay, you go, and then you come back, and then I'm gonna go.
No, I have to walk a canine friend, so it's gonna take a few minutes. You can go ahead and go to the bathroom. I don't want you to wait because of that. I can wait a few minutes.
Okay, let me just get this out, and then I'll be right back.
Yeah,
Um.
take it.
Okay. So, wait. Well, shit. I think I lost my point. What was I saying, Miss Running Woman, just a minute ago?
You were saying you would rather be cooking. You could.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So because like let's just say you project out long term and let's just say something was to kind of happen with this person, right? You're kind of already kind of maybe feeling each other out. Like, well, what in the future? What are we looking like in the kitchen here and stuff, right? Do we get along in here? How we cook and you know what I'm saying? You're kind of actually doing your reconnaissance work early on a little bit. That is a form of vetting, right? You get in the kitchen. How you guys cook?
Mhm.
How are you seasoning? Let me taste that. Okay, let's go. I don't, I'm really intentional when it comes to this type of stuff. I'm a very intentional person. So, like what Spawn is saying, $200 is a big investment for a first date. What Spawn, I do is spend that $200 going grocery shopping. We'll cook something out of it, but I'll have enough food in there to last for the next week and a half, maybe.
I
You know
don't
what
know
I mean?
about this economy, if that's
Well,
true.
you know what? Yeah, the way the bills are now. Okay, I'm gonna step away, and then real life, you can go ahead and walk the doggo. Or did she go walk the doggo already?
No, no, she was waiting on you.
Is she there?
Maybe not, but go ahead and go do what you got to do.
Now
Well,
you were
no.
right, Rainy Woman. See, you know me. I said that I would wait. I am. I was just
Oh shit. Okay, my bad.
putting food in the bowl, and I knew she would be barking, so I didn't want to. I put
Oh,
myself out.
Oh, okay.
all right. Okay, you guys go ahead. You got it. I'll be right back.
Mhm. So he's talking about food. About I
So
missed the
Jack,
very last part. Go ahead.
so he was saying what complex design was saying is that that's a way of seeing basically like what Jackie is saying, food compatibility and how
Hmm.
they are in the kitchen, like how are they vibing together in the kitchen and what is it like how do they season their food versus and he's intentional about
Hmm.
that. So
Hmm.
that sounds like something that is very important to him. And so in vetting, that's something that he might actually want to really explore and have in part of the discussion before even meeting, before even getting together, because that seems
Yeah.
important to him.
Which is I guess another, not I guess, definitely another reason why those food dates when you don't know someone are depressing because like a lot of times, restaurant food is just not good. Like food is
Right.
extremely, you know what I mean? Like it's a huge part of all of our lives, but some of us take it more seriously than others. And so for me, a bunch of strangers cooking my food and I'm sitting across the table like I'm at an interview and he's at an interview with some fool I don't even
Right.
know that well. It's like none of that's going together well for me. And so, there's always, I don't know, that distance between you and the food, the person who made the food. And, it's never going to be as good. And like, I'm not one of those people who always wants to say, hey, and hold this and add this. And because it's like, if I need all that, I need to do that at home because now I'm risking annoying the cook or the chef and, and now
Mhm.
I don't want that energy in my food. So I much prefer to do it at home. It'll taste exactly the way I need it to. And that's a good thing. And yeah, it's really fun. Cooking is really fun. So that's a big deal. Now, food compatibility, that's deep because I've been so disgusted with how people have eaten, let's say back in the past when I was in the dating pool, that, that it was an issue, like a serious issue. Even
Mhm.
if they can appreciate good food and would rather eat it, just the things that they're okay putting in their bodies. And I mean, I'm not saying like people can eat junk food, like I'm not judging that, but I'm just saying like, certain types of food habits and what people deem to be like, like an upper echelon of food. And to me, I'm like, that's just a bunch of scavengers thrown on a plate. Like all I see are a bunch of insects that we've normalized, and those are not insects in our minds, and I'm not dissing people who eat it, but it's just how I feel about it, you know, um,
Mhm.
things like that. So if I'm dating someone or if I go on a date with someone that happens, it's like ew. Like something like that, I find to be like ew. But and people who don't take their food seriously, it also says a lot about them in general. Like if you don't take time for your food, what are you using your time for? Like what else do
Mhm.
you do? It's so important,
Right.
you know.
Because someone something like that that may not be a big deal to someone else, if for someone that it is a big deal, then it could cause problems if you try to build a relationship on anything else and then you have this, because eating is a great part of our life.
Yep. Yep. Like I was dating this guy in my 20s, and we didn't date for that long. It was like a little over a year, and he had he would like, I don't know, everything I would do he would do. So it was like eventually he ended up like going to my school and like taking martial arts and just doing it in my classes and everything. It was just obnoxious, but he began to, have a better lifestyle because of it, and it was nice to see that. But then it just reminded me of how disgusting his lifestyle kind of was beforehand, and I learned a lot about that. I learned how like certain things that I kind of thought were just slight annoyances in terms of like what he put in his body were actually big problems and big issues that I was able to contrast with after he changed it. Even though we weren't really
Hmm.
dating at that point, I still saw it happening because everywhere I went, there he was. But so
Was
I
that
kind of
eerie a little bit?
yeah, it was annoying more than anything because it's like, certain places that were solace to me, especially martial arts, and I spent a lot of time there. So I was there 6 days a week, and I'm seeing, and we had broken up, and he's still coming. I'm like, ugh, like, why are
Yeah.
you here? Like, ugh. And then he goes to my school, and then he's just he had the nerve to deliver a speech at graduation. I had already graduated, but I heard about it, and I was like, what? Anyway,
Right,
that's not
Zone.
what we're talking about here.
Zone saying I was pissing a long time. Zone, I have a kid. You know that, right?
I'll be right back.
Okay.
Yes, go walk the dog.
This is always just like I was pissing a long time. Um, Jackie, yeah, she says cooking in the kitchen together is also a form of intimacy. Exactly. This is why I prefer that type of thing. That's kind of like my approach to, and the thing is that you're not going to always be eating at restaurants. That's not healthy, number one. And so, if it's a woman who's insisting that this particular restaurant, these restaurants, this restaurant, that tells me she doesn't really have the best eating habits.
Hmm.
It's just because look, like I said in conversation, what do you cook? That literally tells me what you bring to the table. In the most literal way possible. It's such a kind of triggering question, but in my head, if somebody told me what do I bring to the table, I'd say I make a killer smoked salmon. You know, but that's my answer, right?
Hmm. Yeah, I don't know if you heard us, but we were saying that in vetting, having those kind of conversations and experience would be very important to you because that is important to you. And so that could be like a deal breaker for
Yeah,
you.
it is a
Hmm.
deal breaker. That's what I'm saying. It is a deal breaker. It's kind of like for the money. I'm like, you just go to the store, go grab stuff, we can cook it. You just cook it.
Hmm.
Yeah, why I don't okay, you see that comment right there?
Which one?
The one right down there that Jackie that she put down there.
About the intimacy?
Yeah, that's what I'm
Yes,
saying. It's
absolutely.
yeah, that's what I'm like. I would prefer to actually just cook the food.
Hmm.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Because it's a whole different thing. Because like I said, if you were to think about, say, like the long terms of like if you're trying to date or court someone, and you got into some long term stuff at some point, you're going to be doing that anyway. So if you guys are insisting on you know, eating or, getting some food or something, why not just go ahead? Hell, I would even say, Jackie, if she's still there, maybe she can chime in on this. If you would like to join the panel, let me know. I can drop the link for you if you would like to join and put in on this. But I would even say that, hold on, let me post this for her if she wants to come up. I would even say also that going shopping together for the food is a form of
Yes,
intimacy, right?
exactly. Because again,
Yeah,
that adds into the experience
mhm,
and you being able to see. another part of their personality. How
Yeah.
are they when they go to the store? Are they
Yeah.
friendly? Are they easily aggravated yet again? Do they acknowledge other people? Do they read labels?
I mean, all of that kinda stuff, right? Like, that was a thing that my wife and I, we constantly did that. That was a thing, going to the store, we had our things that we went if we went to Trader Joe's, there was things we was getting there. If we went to Sprouts, there was things we were getting there, and then we just get whatever else we needed to get from, like, Ralph's or Albertsons or whatever other store was close by, right? But that
Hmm.
was sort of like a thing. Was doing that and then doing prep and, putting the stuff up and, what we're gonna take out, go ahead and just cook when we got to the house and all that kind of stuff, right? These are routines that you build through, in the context of a relationship. Like, I mean, really think about like the day-to-day type of shit. People talk about they get bored, get bored in a relationship. See, the thing is that the mundane stuff like going grocery shopping and food selection, all that kind of stuff, that's actually not supposed to be boring
Well, I
because
think those
yeah,
kind of people just need constant stimulus. They need constant stimuli,
that is stimulus. That is stimuli. Going to
but
the
it's
store
not
and
high impact. Like it's
well,
more
goddamn,
passive.
well, people need to calm their asses, sit their hot asses down somewhere. I don't know. I don't know what to say. I mean, listen, if you need a thrill, I got really fast electric scooters that I'm selling. And anytime you need to get a quick jolt of adrenaline, jump on one of those, and your boy over here will hook you up. But I mean, damn, it's like life isn't really supposed to be. Uh, well, if you want it to, and this is what I'm learning, getting older. If you want it to last, if you want
Hmm.
to live long, you're gonna have to kind of like meter out your energy and what you're doing. You're gonna have to kind of like live dare we say, settled life to some extent at some point, right? Because you're gonna
Hmm.
just go, 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 and then drop dead one day. And it's not gonna be when you wanted that to happen, but you have to kind of like have an intentional approach to life and a sensible one. Like the whole point of this live stream, Delusions of Grandeur. People really having a thought or an idea about how things go in terms of like basic life shit, and it's completely like not in the realm of something that's doable on a day-to-day basis.
Hmm.
And this is the reason why a lot of people are dealing um I mean, there's a lot of external factors, obviously, inflationary costs and food shortages, supply chain issues, and all this stuff leads to higher prices and stuff like that. But you know, how do you prepare for something like that? Something that's economic and systemic, and then at the same time have like these expectations or say for a say lifestyle, right? Because I
Right.
recall I recall back in 2008 when the housing crash happened, right? A lot of people's expectations for their lifestyles got adjusted because they lost their houses, right? And there was sort of like a reset of that mindset. And then, things have been good. And then we had a pandemic and all this stuff. And so now later into this time where we are now, we're kind of finding ourselves in a situation that's similar to 2008 almost. And people are kind of met with real life, no pun intended, versus this delusion of grandeur based type of thought or idea of what their life is supposed to be and their place in the world and all this type of shit. People are quickly finding that like a company's quick to replace your ass with AI if they can. How important are you really?
Exactly.
Okay, so she's living up to her name. She's actually knitting a sweater right now.
Oh,
So. No, you're all good. Don't mess up that pattern. Okay, next one. Okay, next one.
yes,
Definitely come on up.
please do not mess up that pattern,
Yeah,
honey.
come on up there for the next one.
Yes, indeed. Well, I actually have my godson with me this weekend,
All right.
and I'm gonna go ahead and go so I can get back in the bed before I'm up with an active toddler sooner than I would like to be.
Yeah. They're little balls of energy. So
Yes, yes, but I'm gonna keep listening. Thank you guys for having me up.
for sure.
I thoroughly enjoy these sapiosexual conversations.
Yeah, we're the only ones around here to do them. So I think we're the only ones around here that's capable. Anyway, but
Okay, I think real life. Are you there?
Just came back. Hey, yep.
Awesome.
all right,
Thank
just
you
come
for
back from
having me
walking the
up.
pup.
You guys have a good night, and
All
this
right,
has
you too.
been
Oh,
another great
nice,
one.
nice talking to you. Yeah, thanks for coming out.
All right, peace, y'all. I'm gonna be in the chat listening until I fall asleep. Okay.
Okay,
Cool.
all right, no problem.
Thanks again for coming up. So yeah, I guess actually we've been going for 2 hours.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, we can. I don't know. Is there anything else?
I mean, with any of our topics, any topic in general, I can go on all day. So
Yeah,
I mean, to answer
I
that
wanted to
question,
keep AI
probably
out of it as much as possible.
right? You know. But so with that in mind, yeah. But for now, I guess it's cool. I think I'm probably gonna just chill for the rest of the evening. It's late here, but I'm not
No, you're all
sleepy.
good, man.
Just relax. Yeah.
I got a 12-year-old who's still up, and I don't know what the hell's wrong with her. Just real quick, is this just like a girl thing or something? Like, um, it's not exactly like warm. It's about 46 degrees here, so we have a little bit of a chill going on. But
Uh,
she's a t-shirt and shorts. Yeah, it's not hot. It's not cold to me. Is that just something like a girl thing when they're young or something? They're growing up.
People say that is like there's a joke that I have with like when we're doing our first classes together with the students in Korea. Most of them
Mhm.
are married, older people, and they'll so they have like the little jokes that you hear, and already I can hear one of the stereotypes there is with the thermostat thing, just like we have the stereotype here, where during the night the woman wants the thermostat down all the way and he's freezing. Now I'll say I go through this with Tone all the time. Like, I'm like, it's hot in here. Meanwhile, he can go the whole summer without using the AC. Meanwhile, the second it starts getting warm, I'm like, oh gosh, like I can't. So, yeah, it might be to answer your question.
Okay, yeah, I'm trying to figure this out. Zone says, yeah, that's why girls can wear skirts in the winter. Sometimes I'm just like, dude, it is 55 degrees out here. What are you doing out here with a t-shirt and short? Can you go put some on? It's not cold to me. And I'm like, what?
But then at the same time, when it is cold, I think we get cold more easily. Like for example, I get cold easily. Like during the winter, I don't care how many coats and jackets and socks, and I'm cold. In New York winter, I'm talking about. But
Yeah.
now when I went out to walk the dogs, it was I didn't even have a jacket on, and I was probably like cooler than that, but it felt really refreshing. So I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. That it was just a quick question that I had because yeah, I was just like, dude, it's cold. What are you doing? She's like, nah, I don't think it's cold. I was like, okay.
It's not even that late there, actually, where you are. I'm thinking now. It's only, yeah, you're only just past
Yeah, it was
midnight.
12:30, and she's a night owl. I'm basically a night owl, so we're night owls, so we're gonna be up.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. We may go do some. I don't know. We may like go on a late night run or some shit.
Yeah, y'all should. Sounds fun.
Yeah, I don't know. We may go on a late night run, go grab some, I don't know, some ice cream or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Enjoy. That sounds nice. Have a
I
good time,
will.
and always a pleasure. And yeah,
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
Well, whatever we didn't touch on, it'll spill over into our next one somehow, so it'll be
I
okay.
think I'll hit the playback. I think we covered it. Like I said, I wanted to leave tech and AI out of this one, so I think we did that. I think we did pretty good at that. I don't know. I mean, I guess there's always something to add on, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we can always circle back. Okie
Mm-hmm.
dokie.
Yep, sounds good. Yep. All right. So sorry, I zoned out for a second. I was looking at the I was trying to
Oh,
read the chat and see what
the chat.
comments
Yeah.
I missed, which were quite a
Yeah, let's
few. But yeah,
make sure we didn't miss anybody. Well, let's do this. Miss Running Woman. Okay, we had Spawn, the programmer zone, Manuel Briggs. We had Jackie Nick Kenobi, who is knitting a sweater at the moment. So
nice.
we didn't want her to. We were gonna have her come up, but she was in deep concentration.
I can see the comment now. Yep. She said definitely
Yeah,
go
yeah,
on next.
yeah.
Come
So
through.
yeah, come through. She's gonna come through on the next one. Afro, SF, what's going on, man? Thank you for stopping by.
Thanks
We had
everything for coming
Man,
by.
Naf, where the hell are you been, dude? Naf, look at he pulled up.
Yeah, I saw another one of these birds squawking by. I assume that was just a
Yeah,
joke.
I saw her. What's going on, Naf? Yeah. So, yeah, it's
Nah.
everybody that came through here. So, yeah.
Thank you, Daniel. Appreciate it.
Okay. So, yeah, with that, we're gonna go ahead and shut it down. Appreciate everyone for stopping by, catching the playback. Hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't, and we will catch you guys tomorrow. I'm gonna talk about um old world electric cars. We're gonna geek out on old world technology tomorrow. Okay.
Nice.
Yeah, that's what we're gonna do tomorrow. There you go.
Good. I'll definitely come through and say what's up.
Alrighty.
So good night. Talk to you all next time. Peace.
All right. Peace out, real life. And
Later.
yeah, once again, I want to thank everyone for coming through here. Again, if you have not subbed, please do. Like the video if you do. Yeah, we'll check you guys out tomorrow. All right. Peace.